Hi, my name is Joseph DeMarco. I'm a doctor of chiropractic, and I have been 100% plant-based vegan since 2017.
And what made you do that?
What made me do that? That's interesting. Well, I mean, my entire life I've always had this really deep-seated love of animals, and it's been kind of a journey, but about 12 years ago, I had finally went vegetarian. And back in 2017, my youngest son came to me and said, "Dad, why don't we just go vegan?" And I was like, "I'm on board with that." And I've never looked back. Now, I had been vegetarian and vegan prior to that, but I just always was kind of losing my way, even though I knew it's what I wanted to do. I think it was just from just kind of my upbringing. When I was a kid, I grew up in an Italian family in Boston. I did not know a single vegetarian. I did not know a single vegan. No one in my family, I mean, we ate in a traditional Italian, kind of meals. I don't think I ever met anyone that was a vegetarian until I got to college. So even though I always knew I loved animals, like from just being a little kid, I could tell you stories about just things that happened with animals where I just had this love and passion for them. It just never was on my radar until I got to college. And then I started meeting people that were vegetarian, that were vegans. And that's when I started like, what am I doing? Like, I don't want to eat animals. Like, I love animals, And so I would try, and I didn't know what I was doing, I would try, and then, I'd go vegetarian, I would go vegan a little, for a while. And I would lose my way, honestly. I would lose my way. I would be back home for vacation for something. Your grandmother's serving you up, and you just kind of like lose your way. You do. It's hard. And, I really didn't have anyone to support me, like to say, I didn't have like someone around that would say, like to help you out through those times, and I would lose my way, and I'd go back to, eating some meat again. And then I would go back to being vegetarian. And like I said, I didn't want to eat, I knew I didn't want to do it. And honestly, even from a young age, I knew dairy wasn't, never made any sense to me. I actually even when I was younger, I always avoided kind of dairy because it didn't make any sense. I'm drinking, milk from a cow, It never made it totally doesn't make any sense. So, and then, over the years, I would go a little longer stretches. I'd be vegetarian, I'd be vegan. And I even back in 2007, I remember winning, I'd been a vegan for at least a couple years. And I remember winning the Masters National Bodybuilding Championship, which was not a drug tested show. I wasn't on drugs, but I mean, it's a hardcore bodybuilding show. It's a Masters Nationals Bodybuilding Champion. They do it every year in Pittsburgh. And I don't know if anyone's ever won it on a vegan diet, but I was a vegan at the time when we did that show.
And you won.
And I won, the lightweight class. It was for over 40-year-old, lightweight for over 40.
Yeah.
And vegan, like I said, at least 2 or 3 years at that time. And again, lost my way a little bit,
What made you lose your way after that?
I don't know, it's just like...
Because it seems like, that would be, wow, I just won this.
Yeah.
And, that'd be enough motivation and drive to...
I know, it was I feel like the mind is you grow up a certain way, and certain ways of doing things and the foods we eat, you have these comfort foods and these just way that we look at food as we grow up. And if you grow up in the type of environment, I feel like that isn't where your parents had... would not a million years be a vegetarian or a vegan, and you grow up like that, I feel like there's this constant mental battle. It's you want to do the right thing, and yet you I guess it's I compare it, I guess, to being someone who's an alcoholic. You don't want to drink all the time, but you end up drinking, and you have this battle till you can finally get to the point where you can just stop drinking.
And it's probably harder with food because your family and everybody is just immersing.
To this day, I haven't had 12 years ago, like I said, I've been a vegetarian. I had stopped eating everything except maybe seafood, I think, at the time. No dairy, no, and then now since 2017, to this day now, even though I've been a vegan since 2017, I see my mother every weekend, and she's still offering me.
Yeah, still don't get it.
And I'm like, Ma, what? What are you doing? I do not eat anything that has, anything animal related. I said, why do you, But just last Saturday, she's always. So that's what you're dealing with, and it's and I'm just saying, I almost feel like it's being an alcoholic who you don't want to drink, but you have a drink. You don't want to drink, and I think I just had this mental glitch in my head that I just couldn't get myself to just stay on the road that I knew was right.
And despite, in the face of these people that just keep trying to throw you off,
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I'm big on my, working with your mind. I mean, I do that with fitness all the time, but I felt like it was a weakness. It was my weakness, and it was my, I hate that part of me that I couldn't overcome it sooner, that I couldn't do what I knew was right sooner. But all I can say now is I found my way, like I said, like 12 years ago, I feel like I got on a good path. And then in 2017, me and my youngest son, we've never looked back, and to me now it's easy. Like I'm there. I find it easy. I have no trouble energy-wise. I'm in a good place mentally because now I know that I'm not doing what I know is wrong, and so it makes me feel great about that, and so I know I've gotten there, and I know I'm never going back, So I've gotten there, but it was a long struggle for me. And I like I said, I wish I had people around me that were growing up, or even when I was, that were, like I wish I had acquaintances and family members or someone who was a vegetarian or a vegan to talk to, And I'm not blaming anything. It's all my fault that I strayed. But like I said, it's a journey. And I think that's why these days, like, if someone, when I have patients come in, if they talk to me about it, I try to be super supportive and help as many people now, because I think to myself, I wish I had help. And now I try to help people. I'm like, this is like, what you need to do, and what to do, and how to do it, and how to make it work for you. And I try to like give my experience of the trouble I had to help people get there, And I don't try to be critical. If someone tells me that they're still having meat once a week or something, I'm like, it's great. At least you cut out 6 days. You know what I mean? Like, try to support people. Like, I try not to come down on people hard and say like, no, you shouldn't, today you stop doing it. You just try to bring people along gradually, because they'll get there if you can just help them, So
through compassion and understanding and knowing that you've had some failures along the way, and Now, how do you handle your parents now? I mean, are you just straight up with them, like, no, Mom, I've already told you this, Mom?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like,
you're pretty blunt with her.
I mean, I see my mother every weekend, and like, even as of like I said, last Saturday I was down there. She's always offering me food that I can't eat. Right? There's nothing in her house that's vegetarian or vegan. Believe me. And I'm just like when she asked me the other day, and I'm like, Ma, I go, you ask me every week. I said, for years, I go, even when we go over for a holiday, like what we do is, my wife, who's an excellent vegan cook, right? She makes wonderful meals, and she makes all the food for like my family. Okay. And then we bring it. And then on my brother's side now, one of his sons is a vegan. And so we have, we have more at the table. And so we prepare food and but my mother's still asking, you're going to have this, you're going to have some of that. It's like, no, I can't have that, Ma. It's it's animal product, whatever. And so even to this day, and it's just the way it is. I mean, she doesn't get it. I mean, she's a 93-year-old Italian woman, and she's going to, she doesn't get it, Wow, yeah. So.
Do you feel like it hurts her feelings at all?
I do. I feel like, I do. I feel like she's like, doesn't get it. Like she still to this day doesn't get it.
Because she's trying to do something compassionate with something that's not compassionate.
Right. And she doesn't get it. I mean, she didn't grow up like that, which of course in turns, like I didn't grow up like that, I just know that it was wrong, like all those years. And the fact that I found like, a good spot now, a good place, and, I'm helping other people, and my, family, is eating well now, and I feel like at least I have that feeling of, okay, I got there. It's like a journey, and when you finally get there, it's like, good, I got there, and I know I'm there now. So
yeah. Now, this sounds like it's predominantly an ethical thing for you, isn't it?
It is. It's all ethic. It has nothing to do with like, oh, I love to work out and I love to be fit. And I'm a vegan because it's going to help me be fit. No, it's an ethical thing. I just think it's awful. I just can't wrap my head around like the stuff that people do to animals. I can't believe that people can treat animals like so cruelly, whether it comes to like the meat business or the dairy business or whatever. I can't believe that there's people out there that actually would work at these facilities. I really can't. I can't wrap my head around it. I just think it's the cruelest thing in the world. it's 100% ethical for me. Like even if I felt like I wasn't even like I felt like a little like off from being a vegan, but honestly, I feel awesome. So I know you can do a vegan diet and feel awesome and train off. But I would actually do it at this point, anyways in my life, even if I didn't feel as strong as I do now. But that's what people don't understand is you can feel as strong as you can feel strong on a vegan diet. You can build muscle. You can do whatever you want. I mean, you can feel awesome. So. But it's all ethical, it's all ethical.
What made that ethical connection outside of just thinking, I'm drinking milk from a cow, that's weird, like was there something more? Maybe did you see a documentary? How did you immerse yourself in the ethics?
Yeah, I think it was over time what happens is you start seeing, I think with social media was a big help. You start seeing people posting videos of things like, undercover cameras at some of these facilities, and like, you're like, wow, I can't believe that goes on. I don't know whether people that, and maybe that's with people that still eat meat and stuff like that, maybe they don't connect it. Maybe I never did earlier in my life, but you don't realize that piece of chicken didn't show, there was a source from that, where that came from.
It didn't come off a plant.
Right, you know what I mean? Like, for some reason, I think people, and I'm guilty of this too when I was younger, you just don't make the connection that these were like a bunch of chickens like jammed together in some factory farm, and then you start seeing that on people putting clips up, and I start watching, and then I've seen, like the different documentaries, that they've had out, you watch, and every time you see something like that, it just strengthens your resolve to be like, yeah, man, what am I doing? Like, this is like not, that's not who I am, that's not what I'm about, I'm not gonna harm, be part of this whole process of harming animals, you know what I mean? I'm not about that, So I think that's what actually strengthens your resolve, is the fact that you, and maybe social media has exposed it more. Maybe you didn't see it 40 years ago, or whatever. I mean, I'm going to be 59, so I'm talking. I grew up in the 60s and 70s when I was a kid, and so there was no social media, and there was no, like I said, I depending on where you grow up. I mean, you grow up like where I did, like there's like I said, I did not know a single person, and I always remember. I tell you a funny story. I remember being a kid. And I always had this thing about, like I said, animals and stuff. And I didn't know there was not one single vegetarian. And I remember one day I was like about 8 years old, and my mother had made roasted peppers, right? Italian style, whatever, roasted peppers. And I remember she made me a sub for lunch. And I remember I was like only about 8. So I know it was on my mind because I was taught, and I took it to the cafeteria, and I didn't buy lunch that day. And I was telling the kids, they were like, "What are you eating?" And I was like, "It's peppers." Or I told them, I was a joke, I'm a vegetarian. And I remember saying that. And I had people coming over to the table. Look at Joey, he's a vegetarian. Like, look, and he's eating peppers, and I had everyone coming over. It was like this big thing. All I had said was I just blurted it out. I don't even know why I did it at 8 years old. But it was just because but it was like I was like the freak show at the cafeteria for that day. That was the environment, you know what I mean? So
yeah, it was like a Freudian slip or something.
I know. I mean, it was funny, but I remember doing that day at the cafeteria because I was eating a pepper sandwich, and I just was like, but anyway, it was. Wow.
Now, your son, how old is he?
So my youngest son is 21, and he went cold turkey. This was when
cold
he was
tofu.
Right, I guess that's cold turkey, right? There you go. He went just like. I didn't think he was going to last a week because I had already been a vegetarian for a while. I had already cut out dairy. I had already cut out meat. And the only thing I was really eating from like 12 years ago was like maybe some seafood once in a while. So I was almost there myself anyways. Yeah. And then when he said to me, I've been reading a lot about this, and I think, why don't you want to go vegan? And I was like, now he had been just eating, doing his regular thing. Like he wasn't, and I thought this kid's going to last a week, and he's not going to, go from like, a everyday diet to turning
standard American dude.
Right, you know what I mean? And he did. And me and him are like, it's great to have, like, we support each other. Like, in other words, it's awesome. Like, and he's never looked back. I'm really proud of him that he just like, he was in high school and he just decided that's what he was going to do. And
so how old was he when he did that?
God, he must have been 17, so 2017, so what was that, 6 years ago? He must have been 15 or 16, I think. 15. Something like that. So he never looked back since then. So
a lot of people I talk to, and including myself, we think kids get it quick and easy because they haven't like been conditioned as long, and they have less reason to regret their their history, you know,
Yeah.
and they're just more in tune with the truth and
right. And plus, you know, obviously he had me, you know.
yeah, being almost there.
Yeah, I'm not, you know, I'm not eating meat at that time. My wife doesn't eat meat. You know what I mean? It was like, so it was already, he had the influence going, which I didn't have, you know what I mean? But I have 3 kids. I let them, you know, I try not to, you know, I try to lead by example and give support but I'm not going to like force someone to like, you can't have this, you know what I mean? I'm not going to do that. I mean, but I can give you all the reasons why you shouldn't eat that, you know, why meat's bad for you, why you shouldn't eat it.
Yeah, what about your wife?
So she's like, yeah, I mean, she's funny. She doesn't eat meat. She's, you know, every once in a while, like I wouldn't say, she's not 100% plant-based. She doesn't do dairy, she doesn't do meat. I mean, every once in a while, like she may want to have a little something like that's not plant-based and stuff. So, you know, but there's like weeks and weeks go by where she's just 100% plant-based because she's preparing all the vegan meals, you know, especially the dinners and stuff like that. She's come a long way too. I mean, she's same thing. She grew up kind of like me, so she's come a long way, and I'm proud that she's making her way
forward.
Right. And then I have a daughter who's vegetarian. Once again, she's still not 100% plant-based, but it's okay. I keep trying to prod her along, try to get it that way, you know. And then my oldest son, it's funny, he still lives at the house and eats with us. So even though he's probably not a true vegetarian or vegan, he's got nothing else to eat. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, so if he goes out and he decides he wants to have something different or whatever, that's fine. But I mean, it's like, I just try to talk him through it. And, but like, you know, obviously he's eating what we're eating. So it's, you know, which is all, you know, plant-based at the house. So.
Could you be with somebody who isn't vegan?
I mean, it's hard, you know, because it's like, I don't want to sit next to someone eating a piece of steak. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that, you know, but you sometimes you're dealing with family. You're at a holiday. What do you do? Like, do you not show up to Christmas dinner because you got people at the table?
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. You know, it is. It's tough. Person who's vegan, you know, you don't want to sit around that. You know, it's like, but what you're gonna do? It's awkward because it's like family. You know, the friends. I find that's easy. In other words, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna have friends that. I probably don't have friends that are like meat eaters. You know what I mean? Because I'm not gonna go out to dinner with like another couple or a couple, you know, that are gonna, you know, I don't, because there's no need. I'm not. In other words, you're just like, in other words, I don't need. I have to sit there with my family, but I don't have to sit there with you if you're gonna go out to dinner with me and I gotta.
You don't have to worry about me.
No, I know. But you know what I mean? Like, I think that's different when it comes to. I think you can pick your friends, you can't pick your families, right? That's the expression. Yeah. And it's saying, you know, so I feel like you do. I think people that are really. Really know, you know, the ethical aspect of being. You don't want to be around people that aren't being, you know, thinking the same way, anyways. You know, and I think that's what brings people together, anyways. Our friends, people that think like us, you know, kind of like that's what makes us friends. We have a connection somewhere, and I can't really connect with someone that's going to eat a porterhouse steak in front of me. You know what I mean? It doesn't work for me. You know.
Was there ever a time where you felt like there's no way I can go vegan?
Once I got, like I said, out of my home and I got into college. And I had, you know, that was when I was like, I always wanted to. Like, in other words, it wasn't like I never thought I couldn't. I just, like I said, I was like that alcoholic who kept taking that drink afterwards. Something would always come up that I'd be like, okay, I'll have that or whatever. And I'd be like, what? You know, then it's like, then, you know, some time would pass and I'd go back and like, I'd be like, you know, I'm not doing this anymore. And like, you know, so I always was very confident that I was going to find my way. I just took me a long time.
Do you find you're getting more than enough support now?
Right. So I think, you know, look at 2023 now. I mean, first you get more support. It's so much easier. I mean, there's so many more like restaurants with like vegan options or vegan restaurants, vegan everything at the stores, right? I mean, it's everything, just everything is so easy compared to, like I said, I'm going to be 59. Right? So like, you know, when I was in college in the 80s or I was in chiropractic school in the late 80s, first of all, I literally, even then, I really had anyone around me that was a vegetarian or whatever. So now you're like a loner. Basically, I don't know, I just didn't have anyone that I was really surrounded with that was kind of like thinking along those lines, and it was harder to do it. Like, say you're living alone, you're a young guy. I was in my 20s when I was going to school, and, you know, at chiropractic school, undergraduate school, you know, like you're not even good at cooking, and now you're trying to like go, like now you're trying not to eat meat. It was hard for me. I didn't even know what to make, what not, you know, I was like, you have no, you know, and it was difficult. And then, you know, it seems like over the years it's gotten easier. You learn. You know, now at my house, I mean, we got tons of like vegan cookbooks and you know, like there's never a problem eating. I mean, like I said, my wife prepares like excellent vegan dinners all the time. I mean,
well, what kind of stuff do you guys eat on a day-to-day basis typically?
I'm pretty much a creature of habit. I mean, I eat the same way most, like in the early part of the day, just because I know it works good for my training, you know, to work out. So, you know, like I'll start the morning off with like oatmeal. I usually will put a tablespoon of peanut butter in there. I usually put a scoop of my plant-based protein powder in there. I might chop up a banana, put it in there, and so that fills me up, you know, and that's usually my breakfast. If I don't put the scoop of protein powder in there, I usually just drink it separately.
Do you feel like you absolutely need the protein powder?
Do I? I don't know. I mean, I work out ridiculously hard every day. Okay. And I'm not a huge believer. I think most people, especially people that exercise, take in way too much protein. Yeah. Your body can't assimilate these huge protein meals that people do eat, especially like carnivores and stuff like that. They're like so off the charts with the amount of, you talk to some of these like bodybuilders and powerlifters, there's no way you could assimilate the amount of protein at one meal that they eat. That your body can't, you know, have that much. Yeah. But so do I think I need it? No. I mean, I do like to keep a certain limit, but I actually do not think that we need as much protein as you think, but as people think. So I don't supplement a ton of like protein, but I do, like during the day, I would say over the course of the day, I probably use 2 or 3 scoops of plant-based protein powder during the day. So that gets me an extra 20 to 30 grams of protein. I think 2 scoops of my plant-based protein powder is 20 grams of protein. So if I do 3, some days I do 3, some days I do 2. So that gives me an extra 20 to 30 grams of protein. My thought on it is I like to be, like I'm about 150 pounds right now, and so I like to be hovering around 80 or 90 grams of protein a day. So I'm not a person, a lot of people think, like a lot of weightlifters think you need 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, 1.5 grams per pound, a gram per pound.
So I figured you're maybe getting more than that. You must not be eating a whole lot.
I'm very strict on what I eat and the amount I eat to keep my body weight down, and I do that, you know, because of my training. Yeah. So so I don't get a ton of calories. I don't get a ton of protein. So I use a little bit of like plant-based protein powder here and there. Yeah. I always have a protein shake after I finish training, because after you finish training, your body is craving simple carbs and protein. One of the best things you can do within a 30-minute window is have a protein drink with some simple carbs in it. And so I always have that after I train. Your muscles are craving. It's a good window, you know, to rebuild muscle.
Would that be your second thing that you consume after your oatmeal? Or first thing you consume after your
oatmeal? No, it's probably, so say I have the oatmeal meal in the morning. Sometimes I switch it out for some Ezekiel bread, but I mean, usually it's the oatmeal. And then, like say during the morning, if I'm treating patients, I might bring with me a bar, you know, a vegan bar or something, just to have the kind of snack on. And then it depends on the day, because I have different workout schedules. It depends on the day. If I'm around the house, I might have last night's leftovers for lunch. If I'm not, I'll probably train and then have the protein drink right after I train. Then usually by then, at some point during the day, I'm home again, you know. So, and then we'll have whatever's my wife is mixing up for dinner, which is a pretty good variety of, you know, we have a really good variety of meals at the house, you know what I mean? It's
like, so say there wasn't any leftovers and you're at home and you can make the perfect lunch, what would that be?
What would that be? Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always stuff like it's funny, the other night, like, for example, like my wife had made this like chickpea salad. It's delicious. It's like I can put it in pita pockets and stuff like that or whatever. But so like I usually will have something like that I can grab out to eat for lunch, you know. Sometimes, I mean, I may just have a little something too, just to hold me over. To say if I get done training, I get home at 3:34. I'm done training. I train for a lot during the day, and so if I get home, I've already passed lunch, and it isn't dinner time yet. I may just take out a couple slices of Ezekiel bread and throw them in the toaster and put a little peanut butter on it or something. I eat very simple. I mean, probably my best meal of the day is in the most calories is, you know, probably my meal for dinner, you know. Besides that, I mean, I usually try to, I'm very careful what I eat. I try not to, I don't want to be full when I eat, you know, because a lot of times I train in the morning, I train in the afternoon. You know, you can't train on a full stomach. And so I'm very careful about, I feel like people overeat. People eat till they're full. I don't eat till I'm full. I eat a certain amount. I feel like the best thing for you people to do is, you should always be a little hungry during the day. You should never be full. You know, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good to be full. I don't think people should eat till they're full. I feel like you should always have that little bit of hunger going during the day. And that's the way I am. I'm always a little bit hungry during the day. And that way you always feel good. You feel light. You feel strong.
Do you try to get certain groups in? Are you trying to get your greens and your grains and your legumes and are you trying to get all those categories every day, or do you have
I don't think of it like that, but I mean, we do eat such a variety of foods, you know, like when my wife makes up a soup or something, like, you know, there's such a variety of, like, you know, like vegetables and beans and all that in there. But it's always a mixture of, there's always lots of different, you know, vegetables. I feel like over the course of the week I get a lot of variety of...
Salads? Do you eat salads?
Yeah, more in the summer now. The summer's coming up.
Yeah.
We eat lots. I eat lots of fruits. A lot of times I'll blend them. If I make the shake, I'll blend in fruits.
So what's your favorite smoothie? How do you make that?
Yeah, I usually put like a little shot of maybe like some type of citrus, like say orange juice or something like that. Yeah. I throw in some MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides. I always like to have a healthy, you know, you got to get your healthy fats in. So I always try to get in some type of healthy fats.
Is that a little oil? You say it a little?
Actually, that you can get it different ways. Like right now, if you were at my house, I have it in powder form, MCT. You know, I put a scoop of that in. I mean, we're always mixing it up. It depends on what's at the house at the time. I mean, like I said, right now I have a bag of some MCT oil that you can just scoop out. You know, when that runs out, it's not like I run and get the same thing all the time. Like so, I may throw in something else. You know what I mean, for some type of, you know, fat source. You know, I like to eat avocados for fat. We always have avocados around the house. Sometimes that's what another meal that will, you know, say you're talking about lunch. Sometimes I'll just make some avocado toast to hold me over. You know, I'll take some Ezekiel bread and I'll mash up an avocado and with some spices and stuff, and I'll use that. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, it's always something there. I like to try to mix it up in the sense of like, so I'm like, by the time the week is over, maybe not every day, I'm not like where I'm trying to get something, like all those different things in every single day, but I try to look at it, okay, over the course of the week that I get in a lot of different stuff, you know, and I do. I gauge it by, okay, well, how do you feel? You know, like I'm working out a lot. You know, am I making gains at what I'm trying to accomplish? And you know, usually I am. And so as long as I'm making gains and, you know, I'm getting stronger and I'm getting, you know, and things are going well, then I know I'm on point with my nutrition too. Because you can't make gains in the gym if you're not eating properly. You know, you can't. It just doesn't happen. I mean, you're going to feel fatigued. You're not going to be able to get through your workouts. You're not going to make headway. You're not going to make progress. So part of the way I look at it is, as long as I'm making headways and I feel great every time I work out, I know I'm getting the proper nutrition.
I'm glad you said that you like to eat to the point of not being full. The blue zones, for example, they eat till they're 80% full. Like, how do you know that? Sometimes you don't realize how full you are until like after you're done eating.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, and every once in a while I mess up. You know, I'll be like, I'll come home so hungry that you overeat. Yeah. But I'm always like, I'll say to my wife, I said, I shouldn't have had that last bit. I was like, why did I eat that? You know, like it made me feel full, you know, and I don't like that, you know. So I don't know. I mean, I think after a while you just kind of get to know how much you can eat to that and be below that point of being full. Like, you know what the serving is, what you can eat. And I generally will just have my serving, and I might feel a little hungry still. And so that's the option. In other words, okay, I'm still a little hungry. Do I go back up and grab some more food? Or do I just say, call it a day? And like, unless I'm famished, I have enough self-control where I'm like, nope, I'm done. You know, I had my bowl of whatever I'm having. I'm done. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going up. You know, I mean, like I said, I every once in a while, I mean, you mess up, like I'll get a little full, but usually I have good self-control on that, and as long as I'm not, like I said, at least some. But you know, it happens to everybody, right? You come home, you're just starving, and you can't control yourself. You know, you end up overeating. But for the most part, I don't. You know, and I feel like I think more people should do that. I think people tend to eat too much. You know, day to day. I think people eat too much anyways, and I think people eat till they're full. I think people try to take in way too much protein. Your body doesn't store it, you eat it, and it just puts stress on your body trying to get it out, because your body doesn't store, you know, it's not like carbs that you can store in your body. You store fat, you don't store protein. In other words, you eat it and then it...
I'm actually getting ready to interview a nephrologist next, and he did an interesting video Dr. Ettinger for me that he supplied to me to post before our interview. Yeah. And he did an experiment on himself where he looked at his urine samples for 24 hours after eating a normal protein diet. Yeah. And then he did the same thing with a high protein, and he looked at the nitrogen levels. Yeah. The question is where is all this protein going?
It puts a lot of stress on your organs. You're trying to process all this. I competed as a bodybuilder for 20 years, so during the years when I was younger and I was doing that, I was guilty of I need I need 2 grams of protein per every pound of body weight, or a gram and a half for every pound of body weight. I had that mentality for when I was younger, and because that's what everyone else was telling you, right? Everyone else, everything you were reading the muscle mags, and you're talking to other bodybuilders, and so you're a bodybuilder, so you're doing what everyone else that's winning shows is doing, right? So you end up thinking you need all this protein, and after I probably didn't realize until I finally kind of got into my plant-based life that no, you don't, I feel great and I feel strong, and I don't need all that.
You ever thought about experimenting and just not doing any extra protein?
Oh, I've done it all different ways. I've gone times where I don't have protein powder, so I don't.
Notice any difference?
Do I notice any difference? Not really. Honestly, yeah. I don't. I'm always changing things. I do like the fact though of all the research shows that post training it is good to get that hit of simple carbs and protein. So probably more recently I have been sticking to that because it's everything I read keeps telling me the same thing, that's an important part of post workout type of training, of nutrition. But I've gone periods where I don't even have protein powder at the house, and I feel great too. So I don't know. I try to be. I'm pretty picky. I try to be picky about the plant-based protein that we take into. I like to make sure it's clean.
You ever tried Clean Machine?
No.
Clean Machine products?
No.
Yeah, man, you ought to consider that one. They have some really good products, and the ingredients are you'll love the ingredients on this stuff. I think he uses water lentils for some of them to get the natural B12 source, because you can actually. Like some people don't realize that some plants have B12 in them, and that's one of them. And so he has this one Lentine or something. Jeff Palmer, he's the one that did the vegan bodybuilding competition. It's called Vegan Health and Fitness Expo in Florida that I was just at. And there's another event coming up, Mr. America, and I'm going to be doing some interviews there too. Oh, wow. You might like to go to that. That's going to be in New Jersey, a little closer to you. Yeah.
So that's a vegan. So in other words, everyone who competes has to be a vegan. What do they do? Lie detector tests?
So for the not for Mr. America, I don't think, but there's going to be huge vegan teams. I'm not really clear on that one yet, but the bodybuilding one, they do a polygraph.
Yeah, I was going to say you got to do something.
I don't know if they do urine samples or not, but I know they did the polygraph. So they make sure that they're vegan and not using any performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because bodybuilding. Like I said, I did bodybuilding for 20 years. So a lot of times I just competed in just the main bodybuilding organizations. But every once in a while I'd jump into I wasn't using any drugs anyway, so I would jump into a competition that was drug tested or whatever, and they would do urine tests a lot of times, or I've done contests where they do polygraphs and stuff, but see if you're using any performance enhancing drugs. But for the most part, I used to find the biggest bodybuilding shows was just the regular organizations that allowed the use of, basically they weren't testing for the drugs, but I was always a lightweight, and as a lightweight, which was 154 pounds and below, there really wasn't a lot of drug use in those lower categories anyways, because you wouldn't be 154 pounds if you were using performance-enhancing drugs, because guys my height would be 190 pounds, you know what I mean? So
now, some people freak out when they hear simple carbs, or they just think all carbs are simple carbs, because simple carbs can be a problem. But in your case, it's not a problem, I guess, because you're using it post-workout where that's
when you want to have it, right?
Yeah, because it's going to be utilized. Right. It's not going to be I'm just sitting here watching TV eating simple carbs.
Right. I wouldn't actually, my carb intake of simple carbs, if say for example fruit, is going to take place in the morning, or it's going to take place in that post-workout drink. I won't have a piece of fruit or something in the evening. You know what I mean? I won't have something sugary like that in the evening. The worst thing you can do for yourself is an hour before you go to bed, have a glass of orange juice. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to go to sleep. You've just spiked your sugar level. Halfway through the night while you're sleeping, your sugar levels are going to come crashing down, and you're going to wake up feeling crappy in the morning, right? Yeah. So I won't have that type of stuff. I won't have simple carbs and sugary carbs later in the day anyways. Like I avoid that. Like if I'm going to use it, I want to use up, in the morning it's a great time because your body's going, you need that, it's good to have for energy, but that's the only time I'm going to have simple carbs in the form of like say a banana or something like that. And then the rest of the day, I'm not going to eat that. And I don't eat a lot of the simple carbs that are like bad carb. I mean, like,
added
sugary.
Sugar.
Yeah. I mean, I don't eat anything like that anyways. I eat super clean all the time. Like I don't.
So when you say simple carb, it might be orange juice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So in other words, like I don't snack. Like I don't snack. Like I don't sit around and eat chips, and I don't eat candy, and I don't eat any.
Pour sugar on your food.
I don't snack. I have my meals. But I don't really snack. Like I don't really.
Have a bar.
I might have a bar during the day while I'm working because I'm doing like a 4 or 5 hour shift straight through, and my sugar levels start dropping a little bit, and so to get through from I'll go seeing patients from 7 a.m. to 12 noon, so around 10 o'clock. If I don't, I'd be crashing. You know what I mean? So I'll have a little something like that, but I don't really snack. Like I don't have anything in my house where I pick on. I don't pick on stuff. You
don't eat emotionally.
Right, and I don't eat anything like after dinner. After dinner, that's it usually for me. I don't have anything else the rest of the night. I don't. If I have dinner at 6 o'clock, 6:30, and I stay up till 10, I don't eat anything from 6:30 to 10. That's it for me. Like I don't pick on stuff, and I like I said, I try to keep it clean all day.
Yeah. Do you do any sort of like intermittent fasting?
No, I'm not a big fan of fasting.
Because your lifestyle probably.
Yeah, I just. Some people I know sometimes they do it for different reasons. I know I got patients that tell me patients will say that they're doing it because they're trying to lose weight and they do these intermittent fastings and stuff and I got all the different things people tell me what they do to lose weight. They do this, they do that. And I'm always like, that's great, but you know what? The best way to lose weight is just get on a nice set quality diet and be consistent and get into the habit of doing it, because anything that you're doing that's like a little bit like that's out of the ordinary, you're not going to be doing that the rest of your life. So as soon as you lose that 20 pounds, you're going to put it back on, because no one can continue to do like these crazy diets that they give people to do.
Yeah, that are restrictive.
Yeah, I mean,
and not second nature, but
right. You can't live your life like. You can't live your life on different...
Trying to control your caloric intake because you're eating high caloric foods.
Yeah, I mean, I just like, just get in a good nutritional system going for each day and stick with it and exercise and you'll lose weight and you'll be fit. I hate the word diet because no diets work.
Yeah.
They work for temporarily, but they don't work.
I'm so glad you said that, because some people will say, I tried going vegan and this happened. I'm like, no, veganism doesn't create these diet-related problems. Veganism is a philosophy. You were trying a diet and over 80% of diets fail. If you had that ethical underpinning that you clearly have, then you'll find a way to make that work. Right.
Yeah. And plus, you can, people think like, if you're a vegan, you must be skinny too. There's a lot of overweight vegans too. I mean, they're eating too much. They might be eating vegan, but they're eating too much. They snack. They might be eating a lot of sweets. They might be, So I've met vegans that are overweight. I mean, you don't have to, just because you're 100% plant-based doesn't mean you can't be overweight. I mean, you may not be exercising. You may not be eating the right stuff. I mean, you can eat bad as a vegan also. As far as like too many cookies and
When I went vegan in 2011, I had some visceral fat. I don't work out. I don't exercise, like, unfortunately, at all. And I'm trying to change that. Like, literally going vegan was enough for me, but I wasn't eating junk food. But I mean, the visceral fat, even when I was not eating properly, the visceral fat just vanished.
Yeah.
You'll have a different kind of fat maybe as a vegan. If you do the whole food plant-based, it's like really hard to get fat.
But unless you're like a snacker, like I said, like there's people like.
Well, even still, like it's hard.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. I mean, I think you're gonna see probably less overweight vegans. You know what I mean? Because one of the first things you notice if you go from eating a carnivore type of diet was how much immediately, as soon as you stop just eating meat, how much better you feel. You feel lighter. You realize that meat was sitting in your stomach for hours on hours upon hours. How like when you eat plant-based, everything goes through you quicker. You feel better. You feel lighter. It's like one of the first things you notice when you start transitioning. It's like, wow, like I really kind of didn't realize how bad I felt till you stop eating that stuff. Till you stop eating meat and stuff. You realize like, wow, like anyone who is a carnivore, they don't realize how much better they would feel if they weren't. Yeah. Like in other words, if they stopped eating meat, like how much better they would feel. They don't realize.
Yeah, because like a fish is the last one to realize it's swimming in water.
Yeah, people don't realize, but when you stop and you realize, like, wow, I feel a lot better. I feel lighter. I feel just younger. I feel
more energized.
More energized. And
that allows in tune with your ethics. I mean, there's
and then from a fitness standpoint, then you realize as you're working out, like you realize, like I don't feel worse. I feel better.
Let's talk about that. Like
you feel better. It's like
So when you went vegan, did you notice any changes physiologically, mentally, or emotionally that for you specifically that you would like to share?
Yeah, I've probably had some of my best like training over even the last like 5 or 6 years. You know what I mean? I may not. I don't carry. I don't want to be as heavy as I used to be. I used to carry more weight around. I'm going to be 59. So like when I was bodybuilding and I was 30 years old, I used to, what the bodybuilders call bulk up. I would eat a lot of extra food and lift really heavy, and get my weight up. And then what you do is when you come closer to a competition, then you start to decrease your calories and start to diet down. That's what bodybuilders do. You kind of yo-yo a little bit, not too much. Some bodybuilders take it to the extreme. They'll put a ton of weight on in the off season, but I would just kind of keep within 20 pounds. But I would bulk up. But I don't want to be that heavy anymore because I'm older. So I'm not even worried about that. And I'm not bodybuilding anymore. I have other goals.
But the changes you experienced.
But so I started noticing like it was easy to keep leaner, keep the body weight down, which is where I wanted to be, and I just started noticing like I do these like crazy like workouts, like long length of time work, it's not I'll do 3-hour workouts that like like I say to my wife all the time, like I know like what I do like during some of my 3-hour workouts, someone half my age couldn't do what I do. Like I'll train, and a lot of days I train twice a day. I do cardio after I train. I do cardio in the morning and train later in the afternoon. Sometimes I do extra working out in the morning and extra working out in the afternoon. I work out like a lot, and I notice like the energy I have that I feel is from my nutrition. I feel like it's my nutrition that allows me to do that. If you're not eating right, you're not gonna hang with me for a 3-hour workout. You're not gonna make it. I'll bury you in the gym. You know what I mean? Seriously, you're not gonna be able to hang with this old guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. I do lots of stuff.
That'd be fun. I would enjoy trying.
You know what I mean? I just like, and I know that over those last years now, like that I really attribute a lot to my diet, like that keeps me feeling so good, that I can do all this stuff.
Yeah. I'm curious, did it change your mood at all or your mind in any way?
I don't know if it changed my mood a lot. I always, when it comes to training, I'm a big student of the mind. There's a lot to the mind that people don't, there's a lot of the mind, that people don't utilize. There's a lot to that brain that's in there that like people don't utilize to train. And I could talk your ear off about that for forever. But
because you seem like a really positive, like just happy person.
It's easy to feel positive and happy when you feel good. Like if you're not feeling good because you're eating lousy, it brings your mood down. I do feel that, like, even without maybe realizing it, I feel like when you're eating, you probably are more upbeat and feeling good just because you're going to be more positive and more upbeat when you feel good, right? Yeah. So I feel like, I always feel like I got endless energy in the sense that, like, it's right back to, like, I know the way we eat. I think it really has a big impact on my day, and it has a big impact on my training, and it has a big impact on my mood. I don't feel like run down. I don't
depressed?
I don't
depressed?
feel. No, I don't feel depressed.
You're not a depressed, miserable vegan?
Yeah, you know what I mean? You come home, I'm not someone who comes home with, like, you're angry, or have a headache, or I got an ache, or I got, like,
no aches or pains. So since you went vegan, what kind of illnesses have you acquired from going vegan? It's a trick question.
Yeah, right. Part of this goes along with my being vegan. And part of it goes along with my chiropractic philosophy. I don't take any pills. I'm not a pill taker. I will not take anything. And I tell people all the time, like, I'd be lying if I said that at my age I don't have aches and pains from training. I mean, does my shoulder hurt sometimes? My knee hurt? Yeah, what I mean. Am I going to take a Tylenol or an Advil for that? No, and one of the things I tell people all the time, like, if you're young, if you're 25 or 30 and you're working out and you're constantly having to take anti-inflammatories and pain, over-the-counter pain meds to deal with your aches and pains when you're 25 or 30, I'm like, you're in for a world of trouble when you get older, because it doesn't get better, it gets worse. And so I tell people, like, you got to start embracing the discomfort a little bit. Like, I embrace the discomfort. I think it's, I have no problem waking up with a stiff shoulder or whatever. I'll loosen it up. I'm not going to miss a workout. And it's like, you have to get that mindset of, like, it's okay to have an ache or a pain. That doesn't mean you take the day off from training. It just means that you maybe have to modify your training a little bit, or whatever. But you don't say, oh, I can't work out today because my shoulder's sore. Like, no, you work out, but I'm not going to take a pill to make the pain go away. It's okay. I like the pain. Like, I do. I don't mind it. If my shoulder's sore, good. You know what I mean? It means I did something yesterday. Maybe it's sore because I worked it really hard. And that's okay. But but you can't be popping an anti-inflammatory and a pain pill every day, especially as you're younger, because the pain's going to increase, and if you can't cope with it at 25, you're not going to be working out when you're my age, because you're not going to be able to deal with the discomfort. So embrace it. Yeah. It's fine. You got to have that mentality, like, it's okay. I'm alive. I woke up this morning and my leg is sore. That's okay. I'm going to work out. Yeah. I'm not going to miss training.
Yeah.
So.
Some people say they recover quicker going plant-based. Is there any way? I guess you wouldn't have observed that because you've predominantly been plant-based.
Yeah, but I do feel like your nutrition plays a big role in one, we were talking about the energy of working out, but also in your recovery. In other words, when you're not eating well, if you're eating like a junk food diet or even a kind of carnivorous diet,
inflammatory.
Yeah, like all these inflammatory foods which you get away from as you become more and more plant-based, and then finally when you're vegan, you notice less and less inflammation in your body, and I noticed that over the years. Like, I've noticed that level of inflammation. It seems like. I'll give you a perfect example. Two examples. One is I grew up asthmatic, and I grew up with eczema. Don't have those problems.
Yeah.
People say, well, you grew out of it. I'll say, yeah, I might have grown out of it, but you know what? I think it's because I cleaned up my diet and got rid of all the stuff that was probably adding to it. Like asthma, perfect example of asthma is dairy products, right? Causes congestion in young people. I grew up, obviously drinking milk and stuff. My parents, I was in the house, right, as a little kid. You don't know as an 8 or 9 year old, you shouldn't be drinking dairy. And so I think to myself, I feel like over the years in becoming 100% plant-based, I feel like those two things cleared up and went away. I feel like that's all dietary to me. Like,
you probably saw that the onset of them clearing up was right on time with you cleaning up your diet.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up like I said, I would have asthmatic attacks. Like, a couple times as a kid, I was in the hospital with asthma. Asthma attack, and it's
I've heard so many people mention the same thing about asthma. Yeah. It seems to be a very common.
And even eczema. Eczema is an inflammatory process, right? And think of all the inflammatory foods we eat when we're not plant-based. That's another thing that I feel like people, they don't realize. That type of stuff is like a lot of it's nutritional related. That clears up when you clean up your diet. And get away from all that bad stuff.
Now, you've had some pretty cool achievements. Talk about some of your achievements. Like, you mentioned winning a competition, and you've also been in the Guinness Book of World Records. Is that right?
Well, we last year I did the world record for most push-ups in 8 and 12 hours, but we're not officially in the Guinness book yet, so I can't say that that it's in there yet. But
you broke the record at least.
So last year when I was 57, so I did.
You're 59 right now, right?
I'm going to be 59. Okay. So like it was actually this time last year. It was in May. So I'm 58 right now. So last year I was 57. I did 21,008 push-ups in 12 hours.
21,000?
Yeah, in 12 hours. So there was actually two separate records I was going for. There was an 8-hour record, which I broke that, I think I did 15,240, something like that. I don't know. Then I went on to 12 hours, and the record was like just over 20,000, but I did 21,000, so I was about 1,000 over. So you want to talk about nutrition and having the energy to do that. I mean, that was so we, but we're still working on getting that in there, getting it approved.
How did you have to document it a certain way?
Yeah, so the day we did it, Guinness requires, we had to film the 12 hours from 2 angles. I had an angle in the front, an angle from the side, and then we had to get people that had credentials as personal trainers to sit and record each rep for each, and you'd have to, we'd have like multiple judges, because the judge would stay for an hour, then we'd have to switch a judge, they'd go for another hour, and then like maybe someone went for 2 hours, and we had someone that documented it, then we had to have a certain number of witnesses, so we had all these requirements to meet, which we did, we did it all, and then the reason we even though it's been a year, the reason it isn't there yet is then we had an issue with the logo usage. And I don't really know what the logo usage was, but we got it kind of like blamed for using their logo. The only thing I can think of is on our promotional flyer, we show the logo. I was crushing it in my hand, so it's not even a full.
The Guinness one?
Yeah, the Guinness logo. They said we used their logo, and the only thing I can think of, I was crushing it in my hand, so it was a distorted logo. So technically, it wasn't their logo anymore.
Yeah.
It was distorted.
Technically, it's a derivative of it, though. So.
Yeah. So, and it was, and so we have an issue with that with them right now with the usage of their logo, and that's the only thing I can think of what we used it for. But like I said to them, I was like, it wasn't like we were using it. I did the whole thing as a charity event to raise money for an animal shelter. Wow. So it was like, I wasn't like I was profiting from using their logo. I said, I didn't know. I said, but I go, it was a charity event. It was like, it was just the flyers were out to promote, to get donations in for. Yeah. So anyways, but it was accomplished. I mean, the mission was accomplished. We did do what we needed to do. And it gets back to, so it just gets back to trying to show people that, it doesn't matter what age you are, if you take care of yourself, if you eat right, if you exercise right, you can do anything. I don't think I expect a lot from myself. Like, I don't sit around going, gee, I'm not going to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore because of my age. Like, I don't think like, gee, I can't be doing that. I'm too old to do this. I shouldn't be doing handstands still and do handstand push-ups. I shouldn't do, I don't think of stuff like, I don't think of like my age when I'm working out. I expect a lot for myself all the time. And I expect just as much, if not more, than I might have even when I was younger. Like, I'm always like expecting more. Even though I'm getting older, I don't think of age. Like, you gotta just kind of, that age is just a number, and it's like I always say, it's my one of the expressions is like, stay young, train hard. Training hard keeps you feeling young. You gotta look at it. You're just training each day, and and you can't be thinking about like anything else besides the moment of training, and you can't be thinking about like, how old am I, and how what should I not be doing this anymore? I mean, no. I mean, why? I mean, like, I feel great. I do stuff that I probably couldn't do a while back. I maybe physically, maybe I'm not as strong when it comes to maybe doing a bench press or something, because I'm a little lighter than I used to be, but that's okay. I probably can still bench press more than most people, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, I maybe not be able to bench press as much as I used to on some lifts like that. Maybe my weight's gone down, but that's okay because I don't carry as much body weight. So, but all my other stuff that I do and all my training, and when I'm doing stuff like the push-up thing, I feel like if anything, as you keep training over the years, you get wiser. Like I see a lot of younger people try to make attempts at records like that, and they don't make it. Like, I knew I was going to be able to do that record, that 12-hour record, because I had it all figured out. Like, I used some of my experience, my wisdom over the years. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I know how I'm going to get to the end result that these younger people that are trying it, they're not making it because they don't know any better, and I don't want to, talk your off about what I had to do about it, but like, I saw what other people that were attempting some of these marathon records, like whether it's pull-ups or push-ups or whatever, I saw what they were doing, and I was like, okay, this is where they're making mistakes. They're not doing.
What was like the most salient mistake?
So what I think a lot of people do is you gotta remember, when you're doing like a 12-hour record or a 24-hour record, that's like an ultra marathon, right? Yeah. So the last thing you want is to, at any point, start having muscular fatigue, to start having your heart rate go up, that's what knocks you out of the race, right? So if, like, for example, if I was running a Boston Marathon, if I decide to like really start running hard at some point, like I'm going to start fatiguing out, right? I'm going to start building up lactic acid in my legs from running too fast. You have to like pace yourself basically, right? I mean, if you do a lot of pull-ups all at once, what happens? You get all this lactic acid. You're not going to last for 10 hours or 12 hours because you're burning yourself out. So the main thing I thought of was that if you want to do like an event, like a 12 hours of push-ups, first of all, you can't have your heart rate spike at all. So I did a lot of work on learning about how to keep your heart rate super low and never going. I would constantly be checking my heart rate during my training, never getting it over a certain level, so that I was always calm through the whole process of doing it. And then I worked on my breathing a lot, and then I chopped up all the sets into these mini sets so that I never, during one set, exerted myself. So, you know, in other words, if I can do 10 push-ups very easily, but 20 push-ups builds up lactic acid, I don't want to do sets of 20 because I'm going to be fatiguing myself over and over and over again, and your body's not going to be able to handle that. But if I can do 10 at a time or whatever, or 12 at a time, and I can do that, and it's like I feel like it doesn't even faze me, then that's the amount of sets, that's the amount of reps you want to do, along with your breathing, and so that during the whole 12 hours, I was so like zoned out and so like relaxed, and so my heart rate never went up. That my philosophy was like, you know what, these younger kids, I saw the videos of people doing things and they were constantly taking breaks. I went 12 hours, I barely broke, I barely stopped, and I said, that's how I'm going to break this record, is I'm not going to really stop. I see people, they would stop.
But you're doing like, you found that magic number. You stopped.
But I just kept going. In other words, I wasn't really taking, I went through the 12 hours. I think I took 3 5-minute breaks. You know what I mean? Like I barely did not get off of my mat.
So when you're talking about finding that magic number of reps that doesn't build up lactic acid, right, you're talking about to get to the point of being able to do it for 12 hours.
Just to keep going. Right.
So
breathing.
This is how you built up to it.
Yeah.
This is not what you did on the day.
On the day of the thing, I knew exactly how many push-ups I could do without having to, like, where I could just keep going. For example, like when we started the event, I went 3 straight hours without breaking. So I was doing 2 sets per minute. Yeah. So I was doing 2 sets of, I forget what the number was, but it was like 2 sets per minute. I did it for 3 straight hours, no break, no nothing. I think at 3-hour mark, because, you know, it's not like you're not doing 21,000 straight. You're doing multiple sets. So I was doing 2 sets per minute. And at 3 hours, I took a 5-minute break just to drink some electrolytes, just to do whatever. And then I just got right back to it. And because I was watching videos of people doing it, and they were stopping, they were getting massages, they were like walking around, they were exhausted, they were eating, they were doing all this. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just keep my heart rate low. I'm going to work on my breathing. I'm going to find the rhythm that I don't feel any lactic acid buildup, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to take any breaks. I'm not going to take any, and I took the minimum amount of breaks. I didn't leave my little space.
You probably broke a record for least amount of breaks.
Right, you know what I mean? I barely stopped. I had a jug of homemade electrolytes that my wife made for me, right? We had this great recipe for electrolytes. I had a jug of electrolytes. I used a few goo packs that like marathoners use for energy, you know, and that was it. And then I just kept going. But that was the main thing doing something like that. You have to know enough to, like make a plan. Like, you know, what's going to get you to the end of this crazy ordeal? You know, how are you going to be able to do 21,000 push-ups? You know, like you can't do it by trying to bang out, you know, all these push-ups and then think you're going to last, and you think you're going to last 12 hours doing that. No, your body's going to shut down. It's going to build up lactic acid, and it's going to get exhausted, and your heart rate's going to go up, and you're going to be done.
Did you feel like you could keep going beyond that 21,000?
Yeah, I was at work the next morning. People said, "Oh, how'd you feel the next day?" I was like, I was seeing patients at 7 a.m. the next day.
Why did you even stop?
Well, I don't know. I just put in. I know. I had put in for the 8 and 12 hour record. I filed applications.
So did you go all the way to the 12-hour point?
Oh yeah, I went right to the 12.
So when it 12 hours, that's why you stopped.
I stopped at 12 hours. Yeah, okay. I could have kept going. People ask me all the time, like, "You must have been beat. You must have been exhausted." I was like, "No." I was like, "I trained like an animal for that thing." I had days where. You know, the day after that thing, I was in my office. I felt absolutely fine. Like, people think you'd be all, But it was like I had laid out a training schedule, and I had laid out a program, my nutrition, my training, and you know, that other room over here, that's I would be in that room, that room, no music going on. My office would be closed, and by myself, I would spend, it was days where I did 6 straight hours of push-ups, 7 straight hours of push-ups. You want to talk about a mental battle. When you're alone and there's no music going and this place is absolutely quiet and you're just in the back room by yourself doing push-ups for, like, I remember days where my last group of days was 7 hours of push-ups by yourself with no one around. Like, that builds, like... That's how you build up some mental strength. Because and after days like that, I'd be like, this. I know when I get a group of people around me cheering me on, 12 hours is going to be a piece of cake. You know, because I can sit there by myself for 7 hours all by myself and bang out push-ups nonstop because I got the mental fortitude to do it. You know.
Did you ever get to a point where you get like a runner's high, like you start craving that?
You mean craving to do more?
Yeah. Or did you start like dreading it?
You start dreading it. I mean, it's like, it is. I mean, I would wake up every morning and I'd be like, oh man, I knew what was ahead, right? You know, you wake up and you know what's ahead and you're like, man, do I want to, you know, what am I getting myself into? And that lasts about 10 seconds, really, seriously. I mean, I would wake up in the morning, that would be a thought go through my head, and I would just let my you know, you let your brain take over, your mental strength take over, and you just those thoughts, you kick them out of your head. But you wake up in the morning, you're like, today I got to do this and I got to do that. I got like all these push-ups to do. I got all this training to do. I was doing tons of hours of cardio to make sure I was in cardiovascular condition. And like, you wake up and you're like, oh man, I don't want to do this. But then, like I said, you clear your mind and you do today's mission. And the important thing, and I feel like this is these days, especially, you have a lot of people that they have this give up attitude about stuff. You know, in other words, if your brain, you form habits, and you can form habits doing anything. You can form habits, bad habits, and you can form good habits. And the way I look at it is, when you're working out and training, if you say to yourself, I'm running 5 miles today, and then you go out and you run 4 miles because you don't feel like going 5 miles, you're setting yourself up, you're starting to build a habit of being a quitter, of quitting. And so if you do that, maybe doing it once doesn't form a habit, but if you do that every time you decide what you're doing for that day, and it doesn't have to be working out, it could be for anything. But so today I said, I'm going to do 4,000 push-ups, but I only do 3. And the next day I'm going to run for 2 hours, but I only run an hour and a half. I'm setting up a habit of being a quitter, of giving up. And so I'm going to do it all the time. But if you don't do that, if you say I'm doing this for that day and you do it, you build up this mental strength of like, I can do whatever I need to do, I'll do it. And I'm not a quitter and I don't stop. And so then you build up that like strength. And then that's what gets you through that type of stuff. You know, you can't quit. You can't say you're going to do something and not do it, because you form a habit of being of someone who gives up.
Yeah, so, I've heard it put also like, don't set your goals too high. Like, so set, like, instead of saying, I'm going to read for an hour, just read for 10 minutes. Like, say I'm going to read for 10 minutes, and that way you'll get past that.
Right, and then you can build up to like, you know, I mean, some people I think get a little too like, I'm going to work out. They go from nothing, not working out at all, to saying, I'm going to work out 7 days a week. Yeah. And then it's like this impossible task. I tell my patients that all the time. It's like, just keep it simple at first. Get to the gym 3 times a week for 30 minutes, because you haven't been doing anything. Yeah. Like, you know, but what a lot of people do is that if they do, they go gung-ho. They do it for like 3 weeks. They burn themselves out. They go from nothing to like 150 miles an hour. And then they last 3 weeks and then they stop working out again. I was like, yeah, you got to build up. But once you are building up, that's what you keep doing. You say, okay, well, I did that for the last 30 days. I went 3 days a week for 30 minutes. Now I'm going to go 4 days a week for 40 minutes. And you keep increasing it. And then don't ever have a day where you don't do it. Like, make sure whatever's on your agenda for that day, you do it. You know, you make sure you accomplish it. You know, you don't stop, you don't quit, you don't not go, you make it work, you know. Yeah. And that's how you build up that habit of you know, using your mind to your advantage, like building up and being able to accomplish anything. You know, once you have that strength, like, you can accomplish anything. It's just a matter of it takes time to build it up, just like it takes time to build your body up. It takes time to build your mind up too, you know.
Do you feel like being vegan, it might be convoluted because you're so into the fitness side, but do you think being vegan have an effect on your sexual life?
It's funny. I've seen some funny things on social media about being vegan and stuff, and your sex life. Being fit, and that gets back to like eating right and exercise. I mean, how could it not help your sex life? Yeah. I mean, if you sometimes don't you look at people and be like, they'll be so like just pathetically out of condition and out of shape, and you think to yourself like, how do they function during the day, and how, what's their sex life like, you know what I mean? Seriously, I mean, like how does that even work, and it's like just being healthy is a big plus for your sex life. But I mean, I feel like as we get older, and I'm getting older and older, like I feel great, and I feel like it's a big plus. I mean, I don't know what other people my age do, whatever, but I know what my sex life is like. I mean, I've been married for 30 years. My wife is someone who also takes very good care of herself. She works out all the time, and she eats really well, and so she's in great shape too, my wife. That's nothing but a plus when it comes to something like your sex life. I mean, it's like you have that, I think people lose their sex drive as they lose their just health. As their health is going down, their sex drive goes down. And how do you keep your health? You keep it by eating right, and you keep it by exercising. You ever there was a great book I read years ago. You ever read the book Younger Next Year? So it's this great book, and it was written by a doctor and I think one of his patients who was by trade a lawyer or whatever. And kind of the doctor wrote the more serious parts, and the other fellow wrote some humor into the book. But basically the main part of it, it's called Younger Next Year, talks about how people have this thing of like, as we get older, this is the graph of our health. It should just be like this. So from 50 to 80, it's just like you're getting worse and worse and worse, less, so obviously as your health is going down, your sex drive's going down, everything's going down, and then you finally die, right? And Younger Next Year says, if you're taking care of yourself, you're exercising, you're eating right, the graph should look like this. It should be straight across, and at some point, boom, you're dead. Yeah. There shouldn't be this gradual, people have it in their head that there's this gradual decrease in our health and what we can do and accomplish as we get older, and then we eventually die. When I totally agree with the authors that no, we should be able to maintain this level of health till the day we die. And I don't care whether it's 70 years old, 80 years old, 90 years old, it doesn't matter. I mean, you may not maybe live as long as someone else, but at least every year you lived, you were at full potential. You live in life to the fullest. You're not on this like sometimes like you see someone, I remember the joke would be like someone would say on a gravestone, it said, lived to 95 but died at 65. In other words, you know what I mean? Like in other words, their health just was so bad. So what, you make it to 95? What's good is that if you're in such poor health? Who wants to live to 95 if you're in poor health and you can barely move around, and your joints are all bad and you're overweight and you can't do anything, right? I mean, give me 80 at full potential. I mean, I'll take that.
Dr. Furman, he kind of says it like this. He says, we're designed to live long and die fast. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to say. I mean, you should. So, there's no reason for us to have this steady decline as we get older, which you see in a lot of people. You see this steady decline of health. I see it in patients all the time. People you see over the years, how they just start seeming like they're moving slower in my office. They're moving slower. They don't. It's like get up and exercise a little bit and watch what you're eating. Lose some weight. Like get fit. I think the average person, I think they, because of their poor carnivore diet and stuff too, I think they everyone's overweight. I mean, you go somewhere to you keep yourself like in a good body weight, right? Go somewhere, like I always say to my wife, like if I went to the store over the weekend, I was at a co-op store and it was packed, it was full of people, and I came home, I said, I always go to the store and I always feel like I'm like some creature landing from some other planet. I said, like, no one looks like healthy to me. Like, I'm like, does anyone work out or keep their body weight down? Like, I always say I say it all the time. I actually like that. Like, I want to look, like, my goal is, and I'm not bodybuilding. I'm not looking to be some freaky huge person, right? I mean, I'm not. I'm only 150 pounds. But my goal is, like, I like being at a place, like at a store or somewhere where, like, I do not fit in. Like, I want to be like the fittest guy in the crowd.
Abnormal.
Like, right, I do. I want to be, my goal is to always be that guy who does not look like everyone else.
Yeah.
Like I want to be the, and it's a lofty goal, but I want to be like the fittest person.
Yeah.
That's my goal. I want to be the fittest person. I want to be able to run. I want to be able to lift. I want to be able to do handstand push-ups till I drop dead.
Yeah.
I want to be the fittest guy. And sometimes when I get into a group of people, I look around and I'm like, wow, these people, like, they really need to lose weight.
This is weird.
I'm a people watcher. I'm like, that guy needs to do some exercises. This guy needs to like lose some weight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and
you and I would get in some trouble at Walmart.
Right? I'm saying, but that's that when you look at the average people, when you're in a crowd, it's people.
I'll tell you when that happens to me the most is like when I'm traveling doing this sort of stuff and I'm somewhere where like there's no vegan restaurants, right?
Yeah.
And so I end up at like a Denny's or something. And then I'm trying to order. The waitstaff, they're looking at me like confused, like, why is he so complicated? When it's really simple. It makes me feel so alien, like you're saying.
Right. You feel like you're like, because you're not, in a sense, we are alien, sometimes. You get in these like areas of where like, you can't even find a bite to eat. You can't, and it's like, people, you're trying to tell like the waitress or waiter, like, what you want, and they don't get it. Like, it was funny, I was at a restaurant with not too long ago, and I had ordered, and they had some vegan options, and I said to the woman, it was like a bowl with some veggies and some stuff, but you had the option of like, on the menu it said there was an egg on top. So I just said to her, I said, I'm a vegan. I said, I don't want the egg on top. I said, and I was getting some toast, and I said, bring my toast dry, I don't want anything on my toast. And so she brings it back, and the egg's on top. So she goes, well, I'll just take it off. I said, no. I said, I'm not eating that now. I said, you don't understand. I said, like they don't get it. Like, in other words, just because you took it off doesn't mean I'm eating it now. It was still on top.
People might think eggs are like innocent, but in a sense, it's really grotesque when you really look at it. But also, it does result in a lot of death. The male chicks get ground up, so it's not ethical. We got to always think like on a grand scale, is this something that can be done? Like, can everybody have free range chickens just compassionately, ethically, just laying eggs at the right frequency for everybody to consume it? No, so they have to be bred to be producing these tenfold as many, and and so many of them that the male chicks become worthless and ground up like food that they feed back to the chicken. Even the eggs, that seem or honey, can be a questionable thing too.
And what's funny, like this gets back to we were talking earlier about how it's so much just easy to be 100% plant-based these days anyways, because you can get all this, so every once in a while, like one of the things we'll have for breakfast is I buy like just eggs. And I don't like to eat anything processed. Like I don't like how there's like the different types of meats Beyond Meat. I don't really like, I don't know. I once in a while, like we'll have a little of that at the house, I'm not interested in mimicking meat.
No.
In other words, I'm not interested. Like, why do I want to have something that reminds me of chicken or meat? So once in a great while, we might have like a little Beyond sausage or something in a meal. My wife might be making a meal, and she might get something like a spicy Beyond sausage and cut it up into meal. But generally, we don't buy that stuff. But every once in a while, too, I will use like that just egg, which is actually pretty tasty. Like, I wouldn't want to eat that on a regular basis, but every once in a while, we'll have some just egg and stuff. I think it was over the weekend. My wife had made some grilled potatoes, and then she had made some baked beans from the night before. And so we had like some of the beans with the potatoes, and then we used the just egg as part of the meal. It was really good. It was a nice breakfast to eat. And but like I said, that's generally not something I would have every day.
What's crazy is like some people are like, why do vegans want things that resemble animals? I'm like, well, why do people eating animals want something that doesn't resemble the animal? Because by the time it gets to them, that doesn't resemble a cow. That's something the size of a fruit maybe, or something, a little patty, whatever. But at the same time, these products aren't even geared toward us, because a lot of times when you go get them somewhere, they got cheese on them and mayonnaise.
Oh, I know.
It's like, that's not for vegans. Like,
I know, it's like like the Beyond burgers and stuff when they did. You know what? My wife has like 100 recipes for like the most delicious things. Like I love when she makes different types of veggie burgers and stuff. Like we have all these recipes, and they're absolutely delicious. I don't know. It's just like a great meal. Like we'll have that with like some veggies and stuff on the side, and it's like. It's awesome, and it's like they're all super healthy. I mean, they're all great recipes, different,
And so much love is put into that.
Why would I want to have a piece of Beyond Meat in a burger, like to eat that as a burger when I could have a delicious like black bean burger or something like that? You know what I mean? Like it's not even up for debate. I mean,
it's so much cleaner.
Yeah.
A filled roast is pretty good. I've gotten that a few times, but very rarely. Usually we just get it if it's on sale or something. Just to have something different for whatever reason. But
I mean, every once in a while, like I said, I sometimes I'll call it vegan junk food. It'll be stuff that like is a little richer, a little. Like like there's a great restaurant in Cambridge, which is I don't know if you're familiar near Boston. Cambridge is kind of part of Boston on Mass Ave. In Cambridge is a place called Veggie Galaxy. Delicious like vegan food there, but I always call it like my vegan junk food. Like I wouldn't want to eat there like more than every few I go maybe every few weeks. Veggie Galaxy, it's awesome. And Mass Ave in Cambridge, it's like but it's like everything's like heavy, like it's all vegan and stuff, but it's like like there's a lot of stuff that's like say fried, and there's stuff that's like and it's like absolutely delicious, but it's like you leave there like, okay, I ate way too much. So it isn't something that you'd want to, but it's, I find like stuff like that though, it is good to just for variety every once in a while. I do like to eat something that's, I like got a little different anyways, what I mean? Something.
It might even help you appreciate the healthier stuff.
Yeah, more, like, like I said, I eat very clean, but every once in a while, like I'll go to Veggie Galaxy and we'll have this great like lunch there or something. It's delicious, And at least it's all plant-based and stuff. So,
is there any disadvantage to being vegan with which you've studied, or advantage that you can back with science or just clinical observations?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't think of anything that's backed, through like science, like through research studies that have to do with like soft tissue and soft tissue adhesions and fascial adhesions that have to do with like the way we eat. I've never come across anything like that. I mean, observations, I mean, I've been practicing for 32 years, so I mean, I've seen thousands of patients over the 32 years, and so, yeah, I mean, I have my own opinion on different things like that. I mean, if someone's eating better and they're usually the person who's on a vegan diet, chances are they're going to be at a better body weight, which is less stress on the joints, which is less stress on the musculoskeletal system. So, I mean, I feel like that all works into to those type of problems, or musculoskeletal type of problems. I mean, I think it's a lot to do with, from poor eating and stuff, is people being overweight, is all these joint replacements, like everyone needs a new hip and everyone needs a new knee. It's because those are your weight-bearing joints, and if you're bearing more weight, now, you brought up bone density. I mean, yeah, so you're lighter body weight because maybe you are plant-based and you take better care of yourself, and so now, especially for postmenopausal women, so now they don't have the stress on the bones, so they have some bone density loss. You generally, someone who's heavy doesn't usually run into bone density loss. It's the the prime candidates for that is thinner postmenopausal women, because they don't have the weight to stress the bones. But you can offset that, and studies have shown this, that you can offset it by strength training. In other words, when you're lifting weights, you're putting more stress on the bones. Bones get stronger by stressing them. So, so that's an easy fix, like in other words.
What about like jump roping?
Yeah, I mean, exercise in general. I mean, like stress, you want to put stress on your skeletal system. And so.
I mean, is there something specific for that kind of thing, like the bone density thing? Because it's like my understanding, microfractures kind of help build that up.
Well, I mean, like I've read studies from everything from where they took a group of like elderly people that don't exercise in the 80s and 90s, and they put them on a strength training program where they have them do some light weights and stuff, and they show that the bone density will increase.
Wow,
so,
at that late?
At that late. So it was to show that it can be done at any age. Like in other words, so really I feel like any form of exercise that puts some type of stress on the skeletal system. You got to stress the skeletal system to make it stronger. If you're a very light person and you're getting older, and you don't do any exercise, and there's nothing strength keeping your bones strong, your bones don't react to the stresses. So when you stress it, they're going to want to stay strong. So that's why it's so important for older people to get exercise. And like I said, especially older women who have more susceptible to osteopenia and then, of course, osteoporosis. So those are individuals that, you want to make sure you're exercising. People get the wrong idea. You don't exercise less as you get older. I say exercise more. When that bone density starts losing, that's why people start, as they get older, they break, their hip breaks and things like that happen. Compression fractures in the spine, so that's something that, but it's something that can be offset by exercise.
What would be like the bare minimum, not to shoot for that, is walking?
I mean, walking's obviously a good exercise, but you got to remember, there's no there's no stress being placed. Like you want to have some stress coming down on you. In other words, like when you grab a pair of dumbbells, as soon as I picked up the dumbbells, I've just increased, say, I have two 10-pound dumbbells. I've just put 20 pounds of extra pressure on my body. And that's generally the best way to start fighting against bone density losses, that stressing of it. Now, walking is good exercise, and you working those weight-bearing joints. But I mean, that to me, that would be like, say, more towards the bare minimum, doing some walking. Like that, unfortunately, that's what I think a lot of older people think. Like I talk to patients that say, well, I go out every day and I walk, and it's awesome, it's great, and it's healthy for you. But you need to do a little more. You really do. You need to. All older people should, like 2 or 3 days a week, they should make some time for some type of strength training to build that, to not lose muscle, because there's something called sarcopenia, which is the wasting away of muscle tissue as we age, and sarcopenia starts around 35, but by the time adults hit 50, sarcopenia is a big deal. Like people lose muscle mass very quickly after the age of 50 if you don't exercise. So now you're losing muscle mass, and after the age of 50, and the acceleration just gets faster and faster. And when muscle mass is wasting away, muscle is what protects the joints. So in other words, you have less muscle now protecting your hip, less muscles protecting your weight-bearing joints, and the joints get more worn out, get worn out quicker. You don't want that to be taking place. So you have sarcopenia, which is a good reason why everyone should be doing some strength training to prevent that, because that easily gets prevented by just exercising. And then bone density, once again, gets helped along by exercise. So those two things alone, losing muscle tissue and bone density, are two of the best reasons why everyone needs to do some strength training as they get older. So walking is great and cardio is great, but find that 30 minutes 2 or 3 times a week and just do some light. You don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Everyone thinks like they picture strength training as like, I gotta get in the gym and I gotta lift this heavy weight. No, just grab a couple light dumbbells and turn on YouTube and get a couple 30-minute workouts where you just doing just something. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be.
Do you think it's important to work yourself to the point of feeling it like burn, or is it okay just to do some reps whether you burn or not?
I feel like if it's just the average person just wants to stay healthy, maintain some muscle, maintain some bone density, I don't think it's not a matter of like training like an athlete trains, or like a bodybuilder. You just want to just exercise, like get a little bit of a sweat going, like you don't have to be knocking yourself out. You don't need to be. A lot of people, that's what keeps people away from doing it. Like they feel like it's going to be too hard, or it's going to be too much, or they're going to be sore the next day. Like, just pick up some light weights or some exercise bands, and like I said, 3 days a week for 30 minutes, just get some strength training, get a little sweat going, get a little fatigue going.
Like me personally, like I literally haven't worked out. Like I've never had a gym membership. I've never had workout equipment. Like I've got a bench I never use, like for doing sit-ups. It just sits there, we sit on it for other reasons. I've got some like dumbbells. I've used them a handful of times, but I just rarely, I might do push-ups a few times a year. You kind of got me worried with this whole, like, because I'm at 50. So, like, I wonder, is this sarcopenia thing, like, could that be happening to me insidiously without me realizing it to the point of being irreversible? Or is it something like, I can, if I start doing something now, I can totally reverse that trajectory?
You can. I mean, and part of it has to do with inactivity too, of course. I mean, if you're an active person, so maybe you're not working out, but you're real active, you're hauling your gear around. I mean, you're using your muscles to do all that too. So, but say the average person, at the age of 50, 55, 60, people become very sedentary. So you're not doing any, and you see it, like you could see someone who at 50 years old weighed 170 pounds. At 70 years old, they still weigh 170 pounds, so they think they're doing okay, but that 170 pounds isn't distributed the same way. In other words,
it went from muscle to fat.
Right, so you don't have that you're losing muscle mass, which is bad, and you're maintaining the same body weight, which is bad. So now, in other words, your joints have lost that supportive tissue to support it. And it's from, a lot of times it's just inactivity. Your muscles are going to waste away. If you don't exercise when you're 25, you don't really see a 25-year-old or a 20-year-old like losing, any considerable amount of muscle in front of you, before your eyes. But older people, you can see it happens pretty quickly if they're inactive. Wow. you really can see that loss of muscle mass, you know, and it's like I said, it's easily offset by just exercising.
Yeah, you know, I actually feel like I think I've lost about 10 pounds over the last couple of years. I don't know how much of it's muscle or fat. I've been eating cleaner, so I'm assuming it's fat. You know, it's kind of hard, like, how do you know? You know, like, and I guess you don't worry about it, just do the exercising and everything will work.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people, don't. Some people get too caught up with the scale, you know, weighing themselves all the time. It's like, you know what? It's see how do you feel? How your clothes fit is an indication, you know, like how you feel is an indication. The amount you weigh on the scale isn't as important, you know. Like sometimes people say, I've been working out, I've been eating good, but I'm still 140 pounds, you know. And it's like, well, you've lost some fat and you've built some muscle, and that's why you're 140 pounds, because you've added some muscle on. It's okay if you're still 140 pounds, because it's like, as long as you know you're doing the right things, it's, you know, in the long run you're always going to be better off. You do the right things, it's always going to work out. You know, your body's going to respond to it.
I'm curious about the soft tissue thing. Like, what is that about?
Chiropractic, the whole premise is dealing with the alignment of the spine. You know, and so you know, chiropractors do what we call chiropractic adjustments. We try to get the spine back into, you know, proper alignment so that nerves can flow freely throughout the body. But I've always had a big interest in soft tissue work, and so that's a little bit varies off of like soft tissue work can be done, you know, you see chiropractors can do it, physical therapists will do soft tissue work, and so I've been trained to do techniques that help break up any like scar tissue or fascial adhesion that builds up in the body, because like that can cause a lot of problems for people with the restriction. In other words, when a muscle builds up fascial adhesion, which is like technically like scar tissue, it loses elasticity. And muscles are supposed to be very stretchy and elastic. You know, people sit all day, their shoulders go forward. When your shoulders go forward, this is one of the reasons why sitting in general is so bad. When I'm sitting here, right now my hamstrings are in a shortened position because my knees are bent. My hip flexors are in a shortened position because I'm bent at the hips. My shoulders are forward, which is making my, you know, muscles of my chest are in a shortened position. So when you leave muscles in a shortened position, they get tight. So I don't know if you've ever broken your arm, but if you're in a sling for 6 or 8 weeks, when they take the sling off you, you can't really straighten your arm out because your bicep has been in a shortened position for, say, 6 weeks. And when they take that sling off you, it's like your bicep is like stuck like that. So that's what happens when people sit all day, is like they build up like tightness in their hamstrings, they build up tightness in their hip flexors, they build up tightness in the front muscles here because their shoulders are like this all day. And that is what causes a lot of times those type of things build up restrictions in the muscle, like, and what we call like a lot of times fascial adhesion. And over time, if it keeps going on, it becomes, like I said, it's like scar tissue, and those muscles lose elasticity. So people that sit hours and hours, day after day, month after month, build up a lot of restriction in the hamstrings. Their hamstrings get super tight. They got super tight hip flexors, which your hip flexors go into your lumbar spine, so that causes a lot of low back pain. Shoulders are forward. The pec minor and the pec major get tight, you know, and you build up adhesions here, and that you technically, it's like an effort to bring it back because everything is so tight. And when your shoulders are forward like this and you're almost stuck like this, what's that doing? Well, that's starting to stress out the muscles back here because you're actually overstretching the muscles here. And so people will start having this upper back pain, and you go in there and people try to stretch it out and massage it. It's already overstretched because of your shoulder position. So what you need to do is, and this is what I love about soft tissue work, it gets you thinking outside of the box. You know, like, okay, this is all overstretched and it's causing people pain. I'm going to loosen up here. Get this muscle to loosen up. Get these people to get their shoulders back by breaking up adhesions in the pec minor and allow the shoulders to come back. Now that, in turn, will take the stress off of the back. You know, most people that have stress on the back, if you look at them, their shoulders are stuck forward like this, you know. So soft tissue work is a way to restore elasticity to the muscle. When muscles lose elasticity, they become, as they become less elastic, muscles will start tugging and pulling where they attach. So all muscles are basically the same. You have a muscle that's nice and elastic, like it looks just like, you know, like this is no different. You know, you have a muscle that's nice and elastic. On one side you have a tendon, on the other side you have a tendon. This tendon is hooking into one bone and this tendon's hooking into another bone. Once this muscle loses elasticity and it has like adhesion buildup, and you can think of adhesions as just like as if you tied a knot in the muscle, right? That's like, you can think of it as an adhesion. Now this muscle just got shorter and it got less elastic. So this tendon and this tendon, tendons do not like to be tugged on. So once you start losing elasticity in a muscle, tendons start getting tugged on. So if this was a muscle that was attaching into my, for example, we have a muscle here called the levator scapula. It goes up the side of the neck. It attaches into the top 4 cervical vertebrae, and it attaches to my scapula, levator scapula. It lifts up your shoulders. All right, well, if this muscle's building up an adhesion, and a lot of people have that from sitting a lot, you touch in here and it's like wicked knotted and tight and tender. Well, that muscle, because it's not stretching anymore, is going to start tugging. And where's it going to tug? It's going to tug on your cervical spine because that's where the tendon attachments are. And it's going to tug on your scapula because that's where the other tendon is. Tendons don't like to get tugged on. They start getting inflamed and start getting irritated and start causing pain. And so the whole idea of doing soft tissue work is breaking up the adhesions in, say, that muscle so that it stops tugging and pulling. In other words, like this tight levator scapula muscle could be giving me neck pain. So even as a chiropractor, someone might come in with neck pain. I could adjust your cervical spine 100 times, but every time you walk out of my office, if I don't do anything with this tight muscle, you're just going to get pulled back out of alignment. Wow. You know, or if I went to the doctors that treat differently, medical doctors treat different than chiropractors, they may suggest, I don't know, like another type of therapy, whether it's steroid injection into the neck, for example, to help the pain in the neck. Yeah, that's great, but once that wears off, once again, that muscle is still knotted up, it's still tight, it's going to start tugging again, and so you got to take care of these issues, and that's what I love about doing soft tissue work, is I can look at someone coming in. You've had, a lot of these people have had chronic problems. So why is your lower back always sore, but this person's lower back isn't sore, right? There's got to be something mechanically wrong going on with you that your back is always sore. And so I like the idea of like looking at you and saying, well, listen, I just ran all these tests. You have super tight hip flexors, and your hip flexors are muscles that attach cross the hip joint and actually go into the lumbar spine. And so, of course, if you have tight hip flexors, you're constantly creating tension on your lumbar spine, which is, the vertebra in the lower back. So, of course, you're going to have chronic low back pain. Your hip flexors are constantly pulling on your lumbar spine, but we can do work on that and we can loosen that up, And so that's what I love about it. My favorite cases are the people that come in with ongoing problems that they've seen every doctor in the area and every doctor in the city, and they haven't been able to get rid of it. But they come in here, and I find 2 or 3 different things that are going on that are a little outside the box. Did anyone ever tell you that this muscle is all bound up over here? Like your hamstring muscles are super tight. Did anyone ever tell you that your piriformis muscle is not stretching anymore? It's like a piece of leather in there. Did anyone ever tell you that? No, well, that's what's causing this problem, and we can loosen that up. We can do soft tissue work. Whether the person's an athlete or someone who's older or whatever. I mean, it's just a great way of treating problems, is getting in there and finding restriction, finding where there's adhesion buildup, and doing techniques that I've learned to break that up and get the muscle. You can restore that elasticity. And once you restore that elasticity, all is good in the world, Yeah.
Now, when you say you can break it up, are you doing that through massage or how?
A lot of different techniques. I can grab over here. So we have these different, we have some stainless steel instruments that we use. This is a technique called Graston that I was trained in. These tools we use into the muscle here, and what we do is going through different muscle tissue. Normal muscle is very elastic, and as you go up over the muscle, it just stretches it. When you have an area where there's adhesion, you can literally take the edge of this stainless steel instrument and go through it, and you'll sound like this. It'll be like,
oh wow!
You basically hit into areas where the muscle is no longer nice and smooth and elastic. I've been to seminars where they show adhesions under a microscope where if muscle tissue is like this, nice smooth muscle fibers, adhesions are like this. It looks like tangled up here. And so it's got this different coarse type of texture to it. And as you go over with these type of instruments, you can just almost feel it. It's like, wow. But so we can get in there and break it up. So sometimes I'll get in there with instruments and use Graston instruments to work on areas of the body for soft tissue. Other times I have techniques I've learned by hand. There's techniques such as we call them sometimes pin and stretch techniques, where, for example, my forearm flexor muscles are tight, so I may pin it with my thumb like this and then stretch out the tissue like that. So by pinning and stretching, it kind of helps pull apart that scar tissue in there. Wow. So there's just a lot of different techniques you can do to work on that soft tissue to get it to release and to get it to break up, you know. And I just find it's just like a part of my practice that I don't know, it's very rewarding. I feel like I help a lot of problems that people have had for a long time, that they come in, and I don't know if it's just because of the time that's gone on, because I've been doing work for 32 years. Sometimes I tell like my wife all the time, sometimes people just walk in, and I can just see someone walk in, and I'm already like, okay, I don't even have to examine you. Like, I know this and that. Like, I don't know. I just have a good, I just have a good knack for like knowing when I look at people, like what's restricted, you know, I watch people move a lot. It's funny, I'm a people watcher. I'm always watching how people move. I love watching how people move and how they move around my office and how they bend and how they sit up. And by doing that, I mean, of course, I'm going to examine you, of course. But just by watching people, a lot of times, I already know, like sometimes like 90% of what I need to do before I even examine you. Like I can just, I don't know, sometimes I just see it. You can just tell. I just find it's very helpful. It's something I enjoy doing. I like that hands-on, being able to, I don't know, maybe it's Italian. I like working with the dough, making pizza, right?
Talking with your hands.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So maybe it's an Italian thing, but I don't know. But I just love that I love that soft tissue work, you know? And that's what I do on my YouTube channel. I try to show people, you know, how you can do stuff. There's a lot of stuff we can do at home, because a lot of times people are under, you know, have been brought up where, okay, my hamstring is tight, I need to stretch it, you know, and so that's what people tend to do, a lot of stretching. But there's other things we can do at home to help like a tight hamstring other than just stretching it. Sometimes stretching isn't even helpful, because if you have a muscle that's all bound up with adhesion, when you go to stretch it, you can't stretch out something that's not stretchy. In other words, I can take this band here and I can pull on this band and it's stretchy, so I can stretch it. But if something's not stretchy, you can't stretch it. In other words, if these knots aren't stretchy, you can't stretch it. A lot of times people are trying to stretch out a hamstring muscle that's so bound up with adhesion that it doesn't even stretch. If anything, when you go to stretch it, it actually makes it worse. It makes it, you know, because you got tissue in there.
Tightens the knot.
Right, it just tightens up. So what in those cases, like that's what I try to show people, is like a lot of times you need to get in there with like things you can use at home, like spiky massage balls. Mm-hmm. And I show a lot of times on like YouTube videos on, you know, how to take a spiky massage ball and how to break up a knot in a hamstring. There's a lot of techniques you can use. How to break up knots in your biceps is techniques you can use. How to break up knots in your trapezius. So a lot of those type of problems, like stretching's okay, and eventually stretching is good, but sometimes you need to get in there and actually do stuff at home. And there's a lot of stuff people can do even just at home. You don't even need me, you know, to come into my office. I tell people all the time, like I have my patients, one of the first things I do with my patients is I send them home with videos. And I say, listen, I'm working on this, but watch this video and that video, start doing the stuff. I said, because you don't need me, you know, you'll need me a little bit, but then eventually this is all, you know, like I try to get people better and out of my office as fast as I can. I don't want to see the same person over and over again. You know, it's like I'm not interested in seeing the same, like I want to do some work, and then I want to teach you like what you need to do for you, you know, in other words, and you need to take the responsibility. Don't come to me and I'm gonna, like I always tell people, like I'm not always gonna be here to do, like, you know, you need to learn to take care of yourself. You know, yeah, I can help fix it and I'll help you, but you need to get the discipline to do this stuff at home on a regular basis, to take care of yourself, so that you don't have these problems anymore and you don't need to go see me, you know. So
it really sounds like you love your work and you love your patients too, because, you know, to love is to protect another's independence. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I feel like sometimes, like, you know, like people that are involved in, like, you know, like whether it's therapy or doctors, like, you know, part of the business aspect is you want people to come in and you want to keep them coming in, you know, and type of thing. And like, I don't know, maybe this isn't good. Maybe in my younger days, at this point, you know, we see a lot of patients, but I don't want to see, you know, I want to teach. I like teaching. Like I want you to watch my videos, and I want you to like learn how to take care of yourself. I want to teach you how to take care of yourself. And I tell that to my patients all the time. Like I don't want you to have to always rely on me to take care. Like I want you to take care of yourself so that you don't need me. You know, and
yeah. So we'll definitely link to your YouTube channel and your website, you know, in the description below.
The YouTube channel is called Okra Med Health, and the website is www.okramedhealth.com.
Okay. And can people solicit your assistance or help or professional input via the internet?
I do video consults, so a lot of times during the week I have people that are we will do consults all over the world. Actually, it's kind of cool. I love doing video consults with people from all over the place. Yeah. It's so cool that you can reach all these people, But we do video consults for 30 or 60 minutes where I'll sit down with someone by video meeting, and they'll go over their problems with me, and I can give them a lot of stuff to do at home, and to try to get them better. A lot of times I'll almost do like show me where it hurts, and we'll do like we talked about earlier, like, okay, I'll try to determine, where's the restrictions, where's the mechanical problems, yeah. And then I'll give them stuff to do. So we do stuff by video too, So.
Nice, that's cool. And then how could they pay for that? Is there
It's right on the website. So one of the things we on our website we have like a little store on the website, because we carry like spiky massage balls that I know work. I try to carry the stuff we carry at the store is everything I know that if you're trying to fix a problem at home, what do you need? You probably need a spiky massage ball. We have a variation of one of these type of tools, so everything that I know that people could use at home. And one of the things in the store is the availability of signing up for like a video consult,
That's excellent to know how accessible you are. That's so fantastic. Good stuff. Do you have any other resources you want to throw out there?
I did put out a book not too long ago. Yeah. It's called A Fitness Carol. So just like the name says, it's basically like a spoof on A Christmas Carol. Yeah. Except our main character, it isn't someone who hates Christmas and gets visited by the ghost of Christmas past, present. It's actually the main character is someone who doesn't eat right, he doesn't take care of himself, and he actually gets visited by three spirits of good health. So he gets visited by a spirit of exercise, a spirit of nutrition, and a spirit of mental strength. It just follows the story of like A Christmas Carol, whereas A Fitness Carol, he gets brought through his past and present and future, and when he wakes up in the morning, instead of loving Christmas like Ebenezer Scrooge, he wakes up in the morning determined, now he's all set to get healthy,
Yeah.
So it's called A Fitness Carol. So
that's cool.
So that's
Is it illustrated too?
We have a few illustrations in there. I have it, and then on the sides of the book, as you read the story of a Fitness Carol, I interject like kind of more facts about, like, say if in the particular part of the story we're talking about the being overweight, and then we'll put statistics about obesity, or if we're talking about a heart issue, we'll put in statistics about, so I have like some facts on the side borders. We also have it in an audio book. So if people want an audio book of A Fitness Carol, it's being narrated by the guy with the really bad Boston accent. So I did the audio of A Fitness Carol also, so it's available on audiobook. It's all about like getting people to, of course you're trying to make a funny story out of it, but it's to get people to learn that, you want to take good care of yourself if you want to live a happy, healthy life, and it's kind of funny in my story, A Fitness Carol, instead of the character, we try to, kind of, it follows along. We try to copy characters, so we have like a Tiny Tim character in the book, but in my book, Tiny Tim's a vegan and he's a big football player and he's buffed. So, because he eats good, so he's not some like sickly kid. Yeah. So.
At first, I thought maybe you were talking about like something that might almost be good for like kids, like a kid's book. But with the facts and all, like it could fit, any age, I guess. Is there a specific target market?
Yeah, it really wouldn't be for, I don't think kids would get it, But any adult. Like I said, the main character of the book is just a fellow who is like a lot of people that is caught up in family and work. Because he's so busy with his family and he's so busy with his work, He thinks he doesn't have time to eat right. He thinks he doesn't have time to exercise. And his business partner had passed away 5 years earlier of a heart attack from not taking care of himself. And that's who visits him initially, just like a Jacob Marley type of character. Visits him, tells him he's going to be visited by three components of good health. That idea to just let this person remember and try to get them to remember, just like Ebenezer Scrooge remembered that Christmas was a good thing. Christmas used to be fun, and it's a good thing, and take him through his life and see the Christmases that have passed by. So it's the same thing now with this character. Take him through his life of exercise, nutrition, mental health, and take him from being younger to the present, to the future, and get him to realize like the importance of it. So that's why it's more geared towards, I would say, more adults, in the sense that, are you the person who, you think you're too busy, you think that, you think that, I think in one part of the book I used the word, the main character says, hey, I may not be in good health, but I'm successful. Isn't that the most important thing? To be successful? No, good health. There's nothing more important in this world than good health.
Yeah.
That's what's important. I mean, what good is all the success and all the money if you drop dead of a heart attack at 55? You know what I mean? It's like, and then the character, but that's the way that this character, like I said, a lot of people think is that I'm just trying to be successful. I got I'm making money at my business. I have a family. I have a car. I have a fancy car. I have a big house. I'm doing, I don't have time for eating right, and I don't have time to exercise because that's not important. What's important is driving this fancy car, and so it's the message I try to get across in a kind of a funny story, Yeah.
It sounds like you got a dichotomy there of somebody who needs to hear this and somebody who's delivering this message, so it could be inspirational in two directions.
The feedback I've gotten is that people are like, oh, I read it, and I was like, I got up the next day and I was like, yeah, I got to start, that's what I want to do. I can inspire people, like, the next day after you read the book, it'd be like, I got to get, walking, I got to get eating right, I got to get to the gym, I got to get, to get, people to be inspired.
Is it a pretty quick read?
It is, actually, because, it's funny. I've always loved the story of A Christmas Carol, and The Christmas Carol, is actually a very short story. When you buy the original, because I've read the original Christmas story over the years, and it's a very quick read, The Christmas Carol. I mean, they make movies out of it and they add stuff, but the actual book is a quick read, and so this is a quick read too. It's something that you can sit down with and sit at, one setting. Spend whatever 2 or 3 hours. You could probably read it. It's not like a long book because, like I said, the original Christmas story, Christmas Carol, isn't long either. So I just try to, something simple people can read, hopefully get inspired, and hopefully take better care of themselves.
As you're telling me this, I've thought of a couple of people I would like to, buy this and have it delivered to their home.
Yeah,
that would be a cool little gift.
Yeah, I mean, we sell them on the website. But I also, it's on Amazon, and so people can go on Amazon and pick it up too, so.
We've talked a lot about health, a lot about ethics as well, and we've talked about your practice and how other practices might only be treating the symptom, and you're kind of getting to the underlying issue there with the knot instead of treating the symptom.
Yeah.
But really, sometimes a lot of this probably goes back even further. I'm realizing as I do more and more of these interviews that the core problem is a lack of love. So nutrition is part of it, and in your story also covers fitness, and what was the other?
The other component is mental strength.
Mental strength. Yeah. So could that be something that might be where I'm going with this whole love thing? Because if love is missing, and I mean love for yourself, understanding of the truth and how love is this universal thing, and being in tune with that, if somebody's not in harmony with that, the 6 pillars, any one of those or many of those or all of those may be at risk for not reaching their full potential, like sleep, stress management, the social connectedness, not using drugs, the nutrition. All of these things are at risk, I think, if, the more a person doesn't love themselves or doesn't have enough love. And I'm trying to really just understand this more and more, and maybe through these interviews I can learn and help paint that picture somehow, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mental component does fit that a little bit, and I think a lot of times when people don't do things to take care of themselves, it's because they don't have a good picture of themselves, they don't love themselves. I feel like that's important. People do things like they don't think they deserve to live a certain way or live a healthy way or live because they don't have the self-love, and maybe it's from how they grew up. Maybe it's just stuff that's happened over their lifetimes. But sometimes I think, why is this person, they know that they're in bad health. Why aren't they doing anything to take care of themselves? Why is that? Is it that they don't think they deserve it? Or maybe they don't love themselves? Why don't they
take care when you don't care?
Right, that's what I mean. So if you don't love yourself, you're not going to want to take care of yourself, And so I think that maybe that is a reason why people don't do everything that they should be doing for themselves. Maybe they don't care enough about themselves to make the effort. I don't know. I mean, it's a good question, But I do think it's important. I mean, I think that is something that's important. You need to look in the mirror and like what you see, like that person that you see. And, some of it might even get back to talking about being a vegan, I mean, if you're not a vegan, or if you're not, at the very least, a vegetarian, your whole day-to-day activity is around murder and hurt. And what you want to talk about bad mojo, you know what I mean? Like a bad, like you're eating like food that's been slaughtered for you, And it's like, I always say, like, and that's one of the reasons why, I'm in such a good place now, is that, like, if I can be healthy and I can take care of myself and I can feel great, why do I need to harm anything else? Like, in other words, I don't need this animal's skin to wear as a jacket to keep warm, because there's other ways to keep warm. And I don't need to eat this animal and murder this animal, because I can eat plants, I can eat other things to keep myself healthy. So, like, and if you don't choose that, then you're basically living a life of it's a bad karma, I mean, and doesn't that get back to not loving yourself? I mean, it's like you're in bad karma all the time. You're dealing with like I don't know, like, so just anything. I mean, whether it's leather on your belt or your shoes or a jacket, it's like, why do you need that? You don't. I can hold up my pants with a canvas belt. I got shoes that are vegan shoes, right? I don't need to have leather on my shoes. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need a leather jacket. I mean, like, why? I don't know. I just feel like that works into that whole thing of, like, just. I feel like you can really look in that mirror and feel better about yourself and love yourself more when you're not harming others. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I just feel like, I don't need to harm any other, beautiful, like, creatures on this planet, just to, like, when I can survive fine. I don't need to harm them. So I don't know. That's the way I look at it now. Is I just feel good at the sense that I'm. Like I said, when you're plant-based, you're vegan, it isn't just about what you eat. It gets back to the, like I said, like, you're not going to buy that leather belt, I mean, it's funny, even my lifting belt, leather belts are traditionally lifting belts. I was easily found vegan lifting belts. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even need, there's nothing you need that has to be from an animal that we need. There's nothing.
Yeah, my base strap. I mean, I got a vegan base strap. Typically, they're leather.
That's what I mean. I mean, these things are typically leather. You don't need, like I said, like, you can, and that's what makes, this so great these days too. Like, you can go on online and you can just type in vegan sneakers, right? And a million pairs now show up. Whereas maybe 20 years ago, you'd have a hard time finding a pair of shoes that weren't some. But now you can find a million different shoes that are all plant-based shoes. And so why do you have to buy the leather shoes? Why? It's, well, you don't need to.
Yeah, I imagine there's maybe something with these knots that people get that are even related to a behavior that they're engaging in because of that lack of self-love.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. There's a mental aspect to that stuff. Like, in a couple different ways. One is, I think people, right, when they're under stress, or they don't like their life, those people are more susceptible. They're tense. And you're gonna get more
slouchy.
Yeah, and it does. It plays into that, and some people too. I mean, you have people that are. There's a mental aspect of it. Is that some people just associate their life isn't. They don't love themselves. They don't love their life, and they associate themselves with, like, they almost like have this pain that's like their partner, and it's like they almost don't want to get better. In other words, if you took their pain away, that this is the pain that they've been complaining to their spouse to and their friends to for years and years. And if that was to go away, and if that was to go away, that would actually take away part of them. You know what I mean? And
their identity and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
that's so weird.
You know what I mean? It sounds funny, but there's been research, and there's been, I think, some different doctors have put out books where they talk about how people with, like, say, chronic back pain can be cured by, it's more like up here, in other words, there's a big mental component to it. I know there's I can't think of the fellow's name, but he wrote a pretty well-known book for back pain, and saying that basically most back pain is mental. So there's that whole component. People don't.
They take it for granted.
Yeah, I mean, I think people don't realize the strength of, like, everyone's minds, like, with the mind. I know we were talking a little bit about training, about the mind, about building up some strength to to be disciplined and all that. But I think when it comes to just our health and the mind plays a big part in it. If you're not feeling good up here and feeling good about yourself up there, a lot of times these are the people that have ailments, and they develop more tension, more knots. But they also, the same people, I truly believe these are people that develop illnesses too. That there's that whole mental component. You have to have that good mental strength, that mental health. Feeling good about yourself. Like I said, when you look in that mirror, you gotta like who you see in that mirror. You can't look in the mirror and just be like, I don't like this person.
I interviewed Dr. Columbus Batiste. That was a really fun interview, and he's working on a book right now. And he mentioned in that book addressing having a broken heart and how that can affect your heart.
Yeah.
And he's a cardiologist.
Right.
So yeah. So and that was kind of maybe the first. That was the thing that triggered in my brain. Wow. How much of that relates to everything I'm trying to accomplish here?
Yeah.
And since then I've been thinking, meditating on that, I guess, for lack of better words, hard. And I wonder, almost like in your case, you must have a lot of self-love. You must have really great parents, or something. Something has filled you up with so much love that you're able to do 21,000. That you were able to become all these great things and do all these awesome things.
Well, I think it's important to have the right people in your life. You gotta, I think that helps everyone. I've been, been lucky. I've been married for 30 years.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, just in love now is 30 years ago, you know what I mean? So I feel like when you have the right spouse, I feel like that's huge. Friends and that network of family. The worst thing I feel like for people is to be like loners. I feel like people that are alone, they have no support. They have no one to talk to. You know what I mean? I feel like we're creatures of social creatures. We need people to be around, and we need that good support. That family, that friends. It's important.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that, I feel like those people, I think you read about that all the time. People that are alone or those people, like I said, tend to get more illnesses. They tend to get sicker. They're not as healthy. They've shown that. There's studies that show that people you're healthier and happier, and you live a longer life when you're social. When you have that support system and you have a social system.
You personify and are a testament to the power of love, I think, here. With your accomplishments and everything that you're doing. I wonder, do you have a opportunity when you're working with your patients to ever kind of go there?
In which way? You mean
in a more psychological way, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When you've been practicing for 32 years, you
become a counselor.
You tend to tell it like it is more.
Yeah, straight up.
You know what I mean? I'll tell people more what I think they need to do, or where maybe 20 years ago I would be a little shy to say that I really think this and that could be going on too. And try to talk to them about trying to get them to as far as taking care of themselves and being healthier, and I have no problem these days just telling it like I see it. If you're coming into my office, and whether it's something simple like you have back pain and you're 50, 60, 70 pounds overweight, you got to lose some weight, or that whole other components too. I try to be a little more free about talking to people about a lot more different things than I used to.
Yeah.
I think that just comes with age and experience,
Can people see the push-up thing on your YouTube channel? Is there anything
No,
I
don't think we have it on the day of the event. We actually live streamed it on YouTube, but I don't have it up anymore.
Okay.
That was a long live stream. We had live streamed it on my YouTube. While we had the two cameras filming for the record, I actually had a third camera live streaming that day.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I don't have that on.
Maybe I could get some B-roll or get a little clip of that or something.
Yeah, I have rolls of it. It was funny because I was gonna follow that up with something this year, but it was funny that whole thing. It was funny. I got so zoned in on doing that I wasn't able for months to do any other exercise. I was just focusing on cardio and doing that. And then I was planning on doing something else this year, but I've been training all year, and I think we're going to wait till next year. And we may, I'm going to try to make more like a documentary out of the whole process of this next record and stuff. So I'm hoping that we can turn it into more of like a
we can do that.
Documentary of doing it. I thought it would be kind of fun, like to have do like a documentary of it. I know what I'm going to do next year, but I'm not ready to let it out of the bag yet.
Okay.
But I do have a plan. I always have a plan. I'm a guy who writes everything down.
Well, this is exciting. I'm so excited about what's to come. And anything else coming up that you might want to share, or is that like basically your secret thing, your main thing right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just, with nothing, I'm gonna, I am doing some writing again, so we're gonna have another, working on something else to put out, but that won't be till next year by the time I'm done with that. So
another book in the works.
Yeah, right. So I'm just, right now, just it's all about just training and taking care of people and just living the life, living the vegan life,
Yeah. Anything that we didn't hit that you would like to get out there as a last thought here?
If anything, just like I said, and we talked about this even earlier, but I just like to say, like, since this is like a vegan YouTube channel, is just letting, just kind of urging people to like really support. Like if you have a friend or a family member that is in your, you found your way, you're eating, 100% plant-based, type of thing, and you haven't, is if you know someone that could use your help, is to help them, like don't push them away by like saying, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't, I can't believe you're still eating that, or you can't, like be supportive and bring them along with you, for the ride, and eventually they'll find their way and they'll get it, but just try to be supportive and help people. I feel like, if people supported each other more, we'd get more and more people, going into that vegan lifestyle, and I just feel like it's just being supportive is such a huge thing, like just, encourage people, like compliment them, don't put them down because maybe they are still, drinking dairy, or maybe they are still eating a little bit of meat here and there, don't put them down, like encourage them, like just keep feeding them the information that will help bring them along.
Put energy into the thing you want to see more of,
right?
And no energy in the thing,
right? And bring them along and help them, and maybe someday we'll have everyone plant-based, and the world will be a better place anyway. So,
you made me think of something. One of my biggest regrets, and that wasn't helping someone who alluded to wanting help. But I was just so busy, I never was able to get back around to them. And they, not even a year later, they had a heart attack and died.
Yeah.
They reached out to me, and I didn't take advantage of that.
Right.
It is important as soon as we see that low-hanging fruit to get all over it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, life is short. You realize I've in the last few years, I've lost a couple people, and you realize like how short it is, and the times where you don't say help someone that you think could use your help, or you don't, you think you're going to say, you think, well, you haven't seen someone in a while, but, you don't make the effort to keep in touch because you'll see them next year, or you'll get in touch with them, and then, then before you know it, someone's not here, like life is a lot shorter than we know it, to be, so things go along quickly, the world moves fast, and, things change every year, and, you gotta, it's like, I encourage people to stay in touch with everyone, and try to reach out to people. I always try to reach out to people if I haven't seen them for a while. Just to keep in touch. Like
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So. That's such a great, powerful way to close this, because as vegans, we want to make this as viable, successful, because all we see are good things happening here. There's every reason to do this, and there's just no reason to do the other thing.
Right.
And it is easy.
It is easy, I know.
Really. Yeah.
It is. I mean, it is easy. So it's like
once you figure it out, there is a learning curve.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's what I was, like I said, that's why my story, there was a learning curve, Yeah. I'm envious of people that grew up vegan. Like, in other words, like they had parents that were obviously plant-based vegans, and like it's amazing that to grow up. Imagine, I always think, that would have been awesome. Imagine growing up in that environment, growing up from just day one, you're 100% plant-based. I mean, I wish that was me. Yeah. But you know what? You can't have regrets like that. That was, everyone's blessed with their families or whatever. I mean, I had my family. I mean, obviously don't want to change that, but I mean, when I think about other people that you've told me about, they grew up like that, I'm like, you do feel like, yeah, I wish that was me. I wish I'd grown up like that. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, and I'm meeting more and more people that way. And like my plant-based doctor, for example, she's had her third vegan from conception, and more people are just getting confident in doing that. And even 2 generations raised this way, and then having their children raised this way.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting more and more of those people.
Yeah.
And I really see that as the biggest, like, movement of awareness of how viable and awesome this is. Like when we realize that not only is it possible, but it's probably going to be healthier.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be crazy not to raise your kids this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate your time. It's an honor. And
yeah. Thank you for coming over and stuff. It's been a pleasure. So.
Cool.
All right. All right, Jeff.